Chapter 435. On the second day, the imperial palace announced that the emperor was in seclusion. The fourth prince would be the crown prince with Dong Huangyu as his assistant. The seventh prince was ordered to return immediately. Everything was going according to plan. In fact, Yi Qinghan had left the mechanical civilization star field long ago. Everything was handed over to Dong Huangyu. The fourth prince was just a puppet. The military was controlled by Dong Huangyu alone. The newly promoted people in the military were all from the martial cultivation civilization. The seventh prince was indeed smart. After he received the order, he knew that something had happened to the mechanical civilization or that the emperor was going to deal with him. Thus, he directly brought over 20 people and hid in the mountains, sneaking into a sect that had a history of 10,000 years. He started cultivating from the bottom and improved very quickly. He was deeply loved by the sect. Yi Qinghan didn't pay too much attention to the seventh prince. Instead, he led everyone back to the center of the imperial region. Right now, there wasn't a single person left in the imperial region. Everyone had fled to the back. Only a portion of the ancient killing gods were left to guard the ancestral land. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and looked to the west. He said to Emperor Yi, "You guys bring people to guard the ancestral land. I will go to the Forbidden Land and see if I can kill Lin Chenfeng." With the 9-star mecha armor protecting his body, divine light soared into the sky. With the reincarnation mirror in his hand, Yi Qinghan fought against Lin Chenfeng in his peak state. If he could kill Lin Chenfeng, the endless universe would be at peace. "It's too dangerous for you to go alone. I will join forces with you." Emperor Yi was worried and wanted to go together. "No, your current strength is not enough. Also, I am only going to probe. If there's a chance, I will fight. If there's no chance, I will retreat." Yi Qinghan shook his head. "You stay behind and protect Medusa. I can't guarantee that others won't do anything to her." The little golden crow followed along. The west of Emperor Abyss City was completely destroyed. Corpses were everywhere, and death chi permeated the air. The Forbidden Land was completely destroyed. Countless divine herbs flew into the sky. The Forbidden Land could no longer be called a Forbidden Land. At most, it could be considered a withered world that floated in the air. Lin Chenfeng seized all the divine herbs that didn't escape. For his own sake, he didn't even care about Kuang Shatian and Lu Chushue. He directly devoured all the divine herbs, restoring his vitality to its peak state. Looking at Yi Qinghan from afar, a sinister smile appeared on his face. Mecha. A 9-star mecha. After 1,000,000 years, it has actually appeared again. Lin Chenfeng stepped onto the edge of the forbidden area and stared coldly at Yi Qinghan. When he saw Zhong Kuang and the reincarnation mirror, he confirmed his identity and said calmly, "Yi Qinghan, you want to kill me? Use your brain before you do anything, unless you want us all to die, including all the living beings in the endless plains." Yi Qinghan stared at him from a distance. He retracted his mecha and looked at Lin Chenfeng with a frown. "I'm not from this plane. In the endless plains, the Great Emperor realm is the highest realm. Once you surpass the Great Emperor realm, you must leave this plane and head to the middle plane. Otherwise, the endless plains will collapse. Since I'm standing in the Forbidden Land, I won't affect the endless space. However, once I step out of this plane and use power that surpasses the Great Emperor realm, the endless space will collapse instantly. All the stars in this space will be affected. Do you understand?" Lin Chenfeng said coldly, "So if you want to fight, I'll play with you. However, don't blame me for not warning you when the plane collapses." Yi Qinghan was a little doubtful of this news. However, the parrot rushed out of his body. Although it wanted to kill this bastard, it had to remind Yi Qinghan, he's right. Once his main body comes out, the great Tao of space here will be completely chaotic. There will be no order, and the entire endless plains will collapse. I don't want to fight with you for the time being and waste my life force. Let's talk about cooperation. If you help me leave the endless plains and head to the mythical plane, I'll give you an opportunity, Lin Chenfeng said calmly. I'm not interested. I can prove my Tao by myself. I don't need your help, Yi Qinghan replied coldly. However, if you want to enter the higher planes, you still need to cooperate with me. Now that this plane has been sealed by the mythical plane, unless you want to stop at the Great Emperor realm and become an overlord. Lin Chenfeng's lips curled up. He understood people like Yi Qinghan too well. They were obsessed with the pinnacle of the Great Tao and would definitely not be satisfied with the Great Emperor realm. Yi Qinghan sneered and said disdainfully, "You're not the only one who knows about the mythical plane. Medusa and the devouring spirit condor can enter the mythical plane with me. Why would I need to cooperate with you? Ha ha ha, ignorant child. You're courting death by cooperating with Medusa. You might as well cooperate with me." Lin Chenfeng warned coldly, "I think Medusa is indeed in the process of evolving. That fucking flight is because you're helping her from behind, right? So what if that's the case?" Yi Qinghan sneered. The tactic that day was the most classic tactic. It allowed the dead spirit emperor to counterattack the Forbidden Land. Both sides suffered great losses. The human race did not even need to lift a finger. Revenge was taken. Humph, you really don't know what's good for you. If you know what Medusa did in the mythical plane, you'll know how stupid you are now. She was also in the same state back then. She pretended to be pitiful and seduced a young master from an aristocratic family. He then hid her for a year. In the end, she succeeded in evolving, and the first thing she did was to slaughter the entire aristocratic family. She almost destroyed half of the plane. Lin Chenfeng was indifferent as he recalled what happened back then. He couldn't help but tremble as he said hoarsely, "Did she tell you that she could control herself and would never hurt you?" Yi Qinghan's heart was in a mess. Medusa was like a ticking time bomb that could explode the endless universe into smithereens at any time. Even if you don't say it, I know. She was exactly the same as she was back then. She tricked that young master until he wanted to dig out his heart and record his happiness on a metal scroll. But what happened in the end? She was much crueler than us. At least I wasn't interested in collapsing this space. But she definitely was. Lin Chenfeng continued. Yi Qinghan frowned and asked coldly, "Why didn't Medusa collapse the endless plane when she entered the endless space? Is her strength inferior to a great emperor? Did you see any fluctuation of laws when she appeared? Did she dare to use strength that surpassed a great emperor? She didn't dare to. If the plane collapsed, she would have no place to stand and she wouldn't be able to leave the plane. When it was time for her to evolve, she could only wait for death. But after this evolution, she might be able to leave. At that time, the first to die would be the people from the endless plane. The second to die would be me." Lin Chenfeng explained. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and clenched his fists. He stared at Lin Chenfeng and asked seriously, "How can one leave the endless plane?" "Strength, speed, invincible strength, and the speed of lightning." Lin Chenfeng explained without hesitation. "You can't do it with your strength?" Yi Qinghan was surprised. This old monster's strength was already extraordinary, but he still couldn't leave the endless plane. The damned mythical plane has set up a sealing formation at the entrance. With my strength alone, I can't break it. Even with my 2 friends, we still can't break free. We need one more person to be 100% complete. Moreover, once the seal is broken, we will have to face the enemies of the mythical plane. We don't have absolute confidence that we can succeed. Therefore, we need you to be crowned emperor. You have to cooperate with me before we can leave." Lin Chenfeng stared at Yi Qinghan and said with anticipation, "I'll think about it." Yi Qinghan didn't immediately reject or agree. He prepared to leave. Yi Qinghan, you must listen to me regarding Medusa. Otherwise, it'll be too late for regrets. Lin Chenfeng roared emotionally. Yi Qinghan's breath stagnated. Lin Chenfeng's expression didn't seem to be fake. His heart was in a mess. He didn't want to make things difficult for Emperor Yi, and he also hoped that he could change Medusa. He didn't want to kill Lin Chenfeng, but if his expectations were wrong, the consequences would be unbearable. I know what I'm doing. But you better not leave the forbidden area. After I've confirmed my Tao, I'll cooperate with you. Once we leave the forbidden area, our cooperation will end. I can also enter the mythical plane alone. Yi Qinghan warned coldly as his figure slowly retreated. The dense aura of death covered the sky and earth, sweeping up thousands of miles of yellow sand. The chill was bone-chilling. Yi Qinghan disappeared into the yellow sand. Master, how do you plan to deal with Medusa? The parrot looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly, hoping that Yi Qinghan would listen to it. She saved my son, so I owe her a favor. Repaying kindness with enmity is not something I can accept. Yi Qinghan quickly stepped into the sovereign domain, moving faster and faster. The parrot sighed and could only give up trying to persuade him. The little golden crow didn't understand. It only knew that Medusa was very tasty. If it could eat her, its cultivation would definitely increase greatly. However, it didn't want to go against Yi Qinghan's wishes, so it didn't say anything and just flew silently. Don't worry, I'll definitely find a foolproof plan. Even if she wants to harm people, I can stop her. Yi Qinghan comforted. The sovereign domain welcomed its first great victory in 1,000,000 years. The endless universe cheered and roared, establishing an immortal position. Even the myriad races established an immortal position for Yi Qinghan. Bits of faith power gathered, but Yi Qinghan didn't know how to use it. The endless dynasty didn't fall apart because of the arrival of victory. They just delegated power to each other appropriately. As long as it didn't endanger the foundation of the endless dynasty, they were allowed to develop. A large number of experts fell, leaving behind countless opportunities for the true elites to rise. Yi Qinghan didn't interfere with the rising elites. Instead, he quietly disappeared with Emperor Yi and the others. Even Gu Qingyu and the others didn't know where Yi Qinghan went with Emperor Yi and Medusa. A small border starfield, Owl Dragon region, Owl War planet. Yi Qinghan brought the two of them to Owl War planet. Looking at the boundless vitality of the planet and the countless lotus leaves swaying in the river, a sad smile appeared on his face. Now that he stood at the peak of the endless dynasty, it was a pity that his family wasn't here. He didn't even have a relative. He didn't know who to tell. Along the river, the three of them strolled among the dancing flowers. When the spring breeze blew, the flowers flew and butterflies danced. The water flowed and small fish swam against the current, pleasing to the eye. The little golden crow sped through the air and tumbled, creating huge waves. Then, the parrot also rushed out. The multicolored snake swam among the flowers and soon disappeared. Emperor Yi and Medusa kept following Yi Qinghan. Emperor Yi didn't think much of it and just quietly accompanied them. However, Medusa could feel the aura of death filling her eyes. She knew that Yi Qinghan wanted to kill her. Medusa, thank you for everything you've done for Owl War planet, Yi Qinghan said hoarsely. Are you going to thank me or kill me? Medusa asked in a muffled voice. Chapter 436. Are you going to thank me or kill me? A crisp sound broke the peace on Owl War Star and stirred up a murderous aura. Yi Qinghan's fingertips moved slightly, and his black hair fluttered. He turned around indifferently and looked directly at Medusa behind him. His deep eyes were like black holes that could steal one's soul. Emperor Ye's expression changed slightly. He had never seen Yi Qinghan act like this before. I don't want to kill you. Yi Qinghan sighed softly. Killing Medusa was a difficult decision. Not only had she helped Emperor Yi, but she had also helped him change Owl War Star. He would not hesitate to kill a scourge like her, but he did not want to hurt her and then hurt Emperor Yi. But you've already made up your mind to kill me, haven't you? Medusa's lips curled up as she asked calmly. Medusa had been very uneasy before. She had even taken the initiative to teach Uncle Wen, hoping to please Yi Qinghan. Only he could protect her now. However, seeing that Yi Qinghan had already made up his mind, she was no longer as worried. Emperor Yi held Medusa's hand tightly. He could feel her despair and trembling before her death. He could also feel her hatred for Yi Qinghan. His heart felt like it was being twisted by a knife. He had only acknowledged 2 people in his life, and now they were going to kill each other. How could he bear it? Master. Emperor Yi pursed his lips and begged. His eyes were red, and even the heavens would pity him. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly as he looked at the magnificent Owl War Star. No matter how beautiful the scenery was, it could not calm his manic Tao heart. My son, there's no need to beg him. If such a cold-hearted person had to choose between you and the endless plains, he would definitely choose the endless plains without hesitation. Such a vicious man is not worthy of your love. Medusa's eyes were filled with murderous intent as she spoke coldly. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't put on an act to disgust me. If you don't kill me today, I'll definitely kill you in the future. Yi Qinghan stared coldly at Medusa. He clenched his fists, and lightning surrounded him. Emperor Yi stepped forward and stood between them. His attitude was very firm as he said, Master, my sister once asked me what I would do if someone wanted to kill her. I said that I would stand in front of them without hesitation. This is my promise. I will fulfill my promise, just like how she protected me back then. You are my master who has protected me since I was young, and you are also the man I love the most to this day. I will not fight back. It's very quiet. My son, what nonsense are you talking about? Yi Qinghan scolded angrily. His breathing was a little ragged. If it weren't for Emperor Yi, he would rather bear the crime of being ungrateful than leave behind a scourge that could destroy the entire universe at any time. Master, don't you believe me? I can feel the purity of my sister's heart. She is not someone who would kill indiscriminately. The people she killed all deserved it. There is no doubt about this. No one with evil intentions can dance gracefully under my guqin like a celestial spirit. Perhaps the divine bird misunderstood Big Sister, and the old monsters in the Forbidden Land are clearly slandering Big Sister. Why didn't you investigate this thoroughly? Emperor Ye's tears fell like rain as he knelt and begged Yi Fujian. Medusa glared hatefully at Yi Qinghan. She reached out to grab Emperor Yi and tried to pull him up. Yi Qinghan shook his head. Medusa was the smartest at this moment. The more she acted like this, the more Emperor Yi would not understand him if he killed Medusa. He would hate him even more. He might even distance himself from him and cut off all contact with him. He understood Emperor Ye's temperament the best. Medusa, can you tell me who Yun Tian is? Yi Qinghan grabbed Zhong Kuang and asked in a deep voice. His voice was already hoarse. At the mention of Yun Tian, Medusa's body trembled and she took several steps back. She looked at Yi Qinghan with a pale face and asked hoarsely, Who told you this name? Don't ask me who told me. I just want to know. Tell me, tell my son, who is Yun Tian? How did he die? How did his family perish? Yi Qinghan asked coldly. Medusa pulled Emperor Yi up and found a flat rock to sit on. Her eyes were blurred as she looked at the lotus leaves in the lake in front of her. Sorrow pervaded the air. Her bleak and lonely figure caused Yi Qinghan's heart to stop. It was as if he had seen the most tragic story in the world. Yun Tian was the first person I met. Yun Tian was the first human I knew and believed in. He was an elite of the mythological plane, he took 1,000 years to prove his Tao, and 2,000 years to obtain his title. He was given the title Emperor Yun by the Venerable One. He was pursued by countless female cultivators, and he was deeply loved by the female cultivators. That year, I was facing my third evolution, but no place was safe. I fled in a daze, hoping to find a pure land. However, there were experts who knew that I was about to evolve, and they pursued me relentlessly. I was injured and fled from the main plane, and fell into a valley where I officially began my evolution. I lost my cultivation, but I still retained my eternal beauty and enchanting face. Just as I was on the edge of my life, I accidentally met him. He treated me like his true love, and he said that he would protect me. No matter how many enemies there were, no one would be able to step over his body and harm me alive. Medusa looked at the lake and muttered to herself. Her eyes were filled with gratitude and happiness. I believed him. At that moment, I really didn't have any enmity towards humans or other powerful life forms. I only wanted to quietly be his little woman. After my evolution succeeded, I would wander the world with him in search of the supreme heavenly Tao and help him attain immortality. At that moment, I followed him back to the Yun clan and took care of his daily needs as a maidservant. I also told him that we could only dual cultivate and get married after a year. He agreed and didn't make things difficult for me. I really wanted to tell him my true identity and hoped that he would continue to love and protect me like before. I always felt that lying to him was a sin and not true love. Emperor Yi seemed to be able to feel the sorrow and despair in her heart. He couldn't help but hug Medusa tightly from behind, hoping to give her some warmth. Yi Qinghan calmly listened and didn't interrupt her. He only looked at her lonely back and wanted to reach out to comfort her, but his hand stopped in midair. That year was truly long. It was torment and waiting. Every day in my dreams, I trembled and cried helplessly. Every morning when I woke up, I wanted to go find him and cry on his shoulder. Just like now, I don't know when a divine weapon hanging above my head will fall on my body. He took care of me very well. He personally cooked for me every day and didn't let me do anything. He knew that I was afraid of seeing strangers and didn't let anyone near the courtyard. The time for me to recover my magic power was getting closer and closer, but the days were getting harder and harder. Every day felt like a year. I thought I would be able to get through it, but paper can't wrap fire. He found out from his family that I was Medusa, the vicious Medusa. At first, he didn't believe me and began to test me. In the end, I couldn't help but trust him too much and told him the truth on the last day. He and his family didn't hesitate to raise their blades, just like you. Medusa didn't turn around, but she knew that Yi Qinghan was holding frenzy. Her feelings back then were just like now, even more terrified and angry. Boom! Frenzy fell out of Yi Qinghan's hands and smashed into the ground, up to the hilt. The corner of his mouth twitched and the tip of his nose felt a little sour. At the time, I looked at him in a daze. I couldn't believe that the man who raised his blade in front of me was the man I loved, the only man I trusted and acknowledged. Medusa's heart was filled with resentment and hatred. Although she couldn't do anything about it, it caused her hair to shoot up into the sky. This sort of resentment that came from the depths of her heart couldn't be faked. I thought that was the most despairing. On the last day of my successful evolution, I died under the butcher's blade of the man I loved the most. What could be more despairing than this? But I underestimated the greed of humans, underestimated their desires. When he learned that forcefully stealing my yin essence could help him advance his cultivation, he didn't hesitate to forcefully drag me to the courtyard. Medusa's entire body trembled. Her fingers dug into the stone, dripping with blood. At this moment, it wasn't just Emperor Yi who was gnashing his teeth in hatred. Even Yi Qinghan was furious. There were many heartless people in the world. Men, women, humans, vicious beasts, everyone had experienced a bitter betrayal. But what Medusa had experienced was a betrayal that she couldn't bear. This was because it wasn't just death, it wasn't just humiliation, it was trampling. I begged him, I knelt on the ground and begged him. He beat me, scolded me, and abused me for an entire 2 hours. He said I was deceiving him, and he tore off my clothes. I thought I was finished, that I would die a miserable death because I still had 6 hours before I could recover my magic power. But the heavens didn't let me down. My magic power was stimulated under the abuse, stimulated by my desire to live, and it recovered ahead of time. I killed Yun Tian, slaughtered an enormous family, and in the end, my anger couldn't be vented. I slaughtered an entire city, crushed all the heroes that besieged me, and forcefully retreated. Finally, I calmed down and returned to the Yun family. I buried Yun Tian, and in his room, I found an iron scroll that recorded everything that happened between us. Ha ha ha, what a laughable record, what a laughable love. In the face of benefits, you couldn't even withstand a single blow, couldn't withstand a single blow. Medusa laughed crazily. She laughed so hard that tears fell from her eyes. Her laughter made Yi Qinghan shiver. No wonder she was so crazy after her successful evolution. She couldn't even control herself. I put that iron scroll on his tombstone, but it was discovered by the people of the world. Moreover, they made up a story of a heartless woman and an infatuated wastrel. A bitter love between a vicious Medusa and an elite of the human race. This is the answer you wanted. Are you satisfied now? You can kill me. Otherwise, I will continue to kill, and no one will be able to stop me. Medusa stood up and glared at Yi Qinghan. She smiled indifferently, revealing her white teeth. No. Sister, boo-hoo. Emperor Yi cried bitterly. Only now did he realize how fortunate he was. He had met Yi Qinghan at such a young age. Yi Qinghan, who had always protected him with his life, wouldn't allow him to suffer the slightest grievance. Medusa had lived from one generation to the next in solitude. She had faced everything alone every time. How could her heart be so twisted? Sister, you have me. I won't hurt you. I beg you, don't say that. Master won't kill you. He's not Yun Tian, and he's not a fickle person. I beg you, don't anger him. Emperor Yi hugged Medusa tightly. He only wanted to give her some sense of security. Chapter 437. Emperor Yi and Medusa hugged each other and cried bitterly. It turned into the saddest melody and broke the peace of Owl War Planet. Yi Qinghan looked at the two little women in front of him and wanted to slap himself. Why did he ask her to tell him a story? Whether the story was true or not, he did not have the courage to kill Medusa. If he could not get over it, Emperor Yi would even fight him to the death. Influence her. There is no woman in this world who cannot feel it. Yi Qinghan shouted in his heart and suppressed his murderous intent. There were still 8 months and 10 days left. In this year, Medusa was not the only one counting down the days. Yi Qinghan was also counting down the days. Medusa was the most beautiful poison in the world. Like a poppy, she was breathtakingly beautiful, but she could also poison anyone to death. Rustle, 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 Yi Qinghan took a few steps forward and reached out to grab the two. Emperor Yi and Medusa took a step back at the same time and avoided him. Their eyes were full of vigilance and distrust. Yi Qinghan's heart ached. He did not expect that his rash actions today would cause a crack in Emperor Ye's trust in him. He could not help but smile bitterly and said hoarsely, "There are many heartless people in this world. Men and women, and not only humans, there are such people in other creatures as well. You can't just say that they are all heartless, can you? You have lived in the Kuang sect for so long. Can't you see that they are all willing to die for each other? No matter if it is an elder or a disciple, no matter if it is a man or a woman, they will not betray you once they have acknowledged you. Everyone will meet bad people in their lives, but they will also meet people who are loyal to their hearts. When we meet good people, we will be grateful. When we meet bad people, we will take revenge. Why should we hate people who are unrelated to us? The world misunderstood you only because of that iron scroll. But think about it, if you saw that iron scroll, would you see through it? Yi Qinghan asked in a low voice. Medusa shook her head. The love described in that iron scroll was so beautiful that she could not bear to destroy it. How could others not misunderstand if they saw it? The world, including me, misunderstood you and caused you harm. I apologize to you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. I'll explain everything about you to the world and guarantee that you'll be cleared of any wrongdoing. Even if the world doesn't believe me or you, at least the two of us will believe you. That's enough. Yi Qinghan bowed. Ha ha ha, do you expect me to just sit there and wait for death if they gang up and attack me in order to kill me? Medusa mocked with disdain. The promise that Yin Tian gave you, I can also give you. What he couldn't do, I can do. Yi Qinghan calmly said. I don't believe it. Right now, I won't believe anyone's promise. Medusa said without hesitation. That kind of bitter betrayal, once was enough. There was no need for a second time. It was too hurtful. It was even more painful than being stabbed in the heart by an enemy. Yi Qinghan patiently said, my son will believe it, and so will I. What a joke. Do you never use your brain when you speak? What if Gu Qingyu leads the insane sect to kill me? What if they lead the world to attack our war star? Will you protect me? Or are you going to forcefully take Renhuang Yi away and leave me here? Don't tell me this is impossible. Let me tell you, it can happen at any time. Medusa was used to seeing people's hearts. She naturally knew what would happen next. I will explain. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and said in a low voice. I know that with your character, you will definitely explain things to your brothers and sisters. But in the face of the desire to live, the people of the insane sect will believe you, but they will not believe me. The world will not believe me either. They will definitely kill me. The people you are protecting have raised their blades to kill me. Are you going to raise your blade and slaughter everyone, or are you going to abandon me and leave with your son? Medusa asked with a cold smile. Yi Qinghan was silent for a while and said in a low voice, my will cannot be changed by the world. The world cannot change it. I won't believe you. Let's wait and see. I will see you run away in a sorry state. Medusa sneered and laughed at everything. In order to prevent Medusa from angering Yi Qinghan, Emperor Yi brought her into the distance and wandered through the forest on the plains. After nearly 1,000 years, this place had become lush and verdant. The forest towered into the sky and the tall poplar trees stood proudly in the wind. The two little women forgot their sorrow and chased the birds through the forest and into the lake. Yi Qinghan's eyes were like torches as he watched the two disappear. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. He sighed, why do I always meet people with twisted minds? My son is like that, Gu Qingyu is like that, Uncle Wen is like that. Now Medusa's twisted mind is probably the sum of theirs. Yi Qinghan's handsome face revealed an indescribable affection. Yi Qinghan always wanted to try to influence people like this, to give them warmth, and to protect them. Ever since Renhuang Yi, he had revealed this hobby. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan drew his blade and walked into the forest. He crossed the plains and arrived at an extremely beautiful beach in the inland sea. The sea water lapped against the shore and the sea breeze brushed past his face. The clear water was so clear that one could see the bottom. Everything within 10,000 miles was a stretch of deep blue. The two little women ran wildly on the beach. Medusa relaxed her mind and no longer clung to survival. She only wanted to enjoy the joys of the mortal world in her final moments. Even if 10,000 creatures were to hunt her down, at least she would have Emperor Yi by her side. Kakik, the crisp laughter melted the cold heart like the melodious sounds of nature. Yi Qinghan brandished his blade and chopped down dozens of trees. He began to build a house. Perhaps it was better to enjoy the happiness of having multiple partners here. He had been tired for so long and should rest. He should cultivate quietly and return everything to normal. The struggles of the outside world had nothing to do with him. Soon, a simple courtyard was built. There were 3 houses with a large courtyard and a small pond. A few lotus flowers moved from the distant lake and emitted the fragrance of spring. The rockery towered high. It was indeed a pure land of the mortal world. When everything was finished, Yi Qinghan arrived at the ancestral land of the great Yi clan. He set up a sky-high tombstone and engraved all the names on it. Those that he could remember were all engraved on it. Thump, thump, thump. After 9 consecutive kowtows, Yi Qinghan felt relieved of the guilt in his heart. So many years had passed and the enmity of the past had long since vanished into thin air. Yi Qinghan returned to the beach and quietly watched the 2 of them catch fish. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he leaned against a rock in satisfaction. The little golden crow, the multicolored snake, and the parrot were playing crazily and didn't know to come back. This allowed him to enjoy a peaceful life. Water. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and stirred up a huge wave of water. It transformed into a 10,000-mile-long heavenly dragon and fiercely pounced on Emperor Yi and Medusa, hoping to drive them back to the shore. However, he didn't control it well and directly submerged the 2. They were completely drenched. Their clothes were soaked and they were extremely tempting. Emperor Yi pounced on Yi Qinghan in an exaggerated manner and happily played with him. However, Medusa kept a respectful distance from him. On the one hand, it was because she didn't trust him. On the other hand, it was because they weren't familiar with each other and she didn't want to go against her will to please him. Yi Qinghan smiled and caught Emperor Yi. He said gently, "You must be tired after playing for the whole day. Put the fish down. I'll cook for you." Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan were already fasting and didn't need to eat at all. However, Medusa couldn't. In addition, eating had become a habit. Even if she wasn't hungry, she would still eat a few mouthfuls. Therefore, Yi Qinghan had never changed this habit. Pots and pans. Yi Qinghan's Qiankuan ring had everything. Spices, salt, and all kinds of spiritual fruits were all taken out. It was definitely comparable to the life of an emperor. Yi Qinghan took out a large number of withered branches. With a snap of his fingers, flames appeared on his fingers and lit the branches up. He began to boil water and kill the fish. The fish were fat and tender and full of spiritual energy. They emitted a fragrance that attracted the little golden crow and other divine beasts. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and countless large fish were pulled ashore. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The branches were pulled over and directly inserted into the fish's bodies. The flames were controlled to the finest degree and they were being roasted at the same time. The 3 divine beasts were drooling. Even the fire crow was lured out from its seclusion. The moment the fire crow came out, Yi Qinghan saw that it had already begun to revert to its ancestral state. It had also reached the false emperor realm. He couldn't help but nod in satisfaction and said, "Fire crow, I will give you a mission later. Go and inform the Eastern Emperor Mountain and go to the ancient purgatory to bring everyone out and settle them down. Throw the sinners of the mechanical civilization into the purgatory, N. You will personally lead the way. When you pass by the sorcerer race's territory, do not force your way in. Go and find Ming Ke, and ask her to open a path." Yi Qinghan instructed. "Yes, master," the fire crow replied respectfully. Boom! The parrot and the multicolored snake didn't care if the fish was cooked or not. They directly swallowed it. The little golden crow even swallowed the flames. The 4 divine beasts began to fight. The little golden crow was the most aggressive and was practically eating alone. The 3 of them pursed their lips and laughed. Soon after, the fire crow left. The fish soup in the pot began to emit a fragrance. Medusa, who had lost her appetite for a long time, actually felt a little hungry now. She also sat beside Emperor Yi and waited with a big bowl. "Let's eat." With an order, Yi Qinghan began to fill the bowls with fish and soup for the two. The parrot wanted to snatch it, but it was slapped away by Yi Qinghan. "Bastard who values women over friends. This divine bird's cooking is definitely 10,000 times better than yours." The parrot scolded angrily. It said to the little golden crow and the multicolored snake, "Brothers, follow me to catch fish. Today, I will let you see Big Brother's cooking skills." Swish, 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 the multicolored snake rushed into the sea like lightning and transformed into a heavenly dragon. It constantly caught the big fish and sea beasts. It didn't care about the small shrimps at all. The three of them ate again and again as they watched the performance of the three divine beasts. They were grinning from ear to ear. Yi Qinghan captured Medusa's joy from the bottom of her heart. He didn't want to make too much contact with her. He didn't want to cause her resistance. He could only influence her subtly at this time. Yi Qinghan was confident that he could melt even a heart of stone in a little more than 8 months' time. Medusa's body was still wet from the night breeze. She couldn't help but shiver. She took the initiative to lie in Emperor Ye's arms. A wisp of pure color was reflected in his eyes. Yi Qinghan looked at the two of them. His heart couldn't help but tremble. Who could remain calm when facing a man's true colors? Emperor Yi glanced at Yi Qinghan. His face blushed a little as he thought of that day on the deserted island. He then lowered his head. Chapter 438. The night breeze blew across the roof. The spring night was a little cold. Emperor Yi sent Medusa back to her room and did not come out again. Yi Qinghan could not sleep as he stared blankly at the ceiling. In the room, Medusa calmed down and pulled Emperor Yi to sit on the bed. "My son, can you take me away from here?" Medusa asked softly. Emperor Ye's expression changed slightly as he whispered, "Sister, Master promised to protect you. He will definitely protect you. Trust him this once. He is not a heartless person. Please believe me. If you leave now, Master will definitely misunderstand and think that you are escaping punishment." Medusa smiled bitterly. There was no doubt that the Quanzong and the people of the world would come for them sooner or later. They only lacked a fuse. Lin Chenfeng would not let go of this opportunity and would definitely instigate everyone to hunt them down. When that time came, Yi Qinghan would either have to fight the people of the world or choose to retreat with Ren Huangyi. Her fate was already decided. "You don't understand. If I leave, he won't have a choice. I don't want to betray him again, even if it's friendship. Isn't it better to kill this betrayal in the cradle?" Medusa pleaded. "Humph, if they dare to come, I will kill them. I'm not afraid." Emperor Ye's aura turned cold as he said angrily. "What if Yi Qinghan takes you away by force? At that time, your relationship will also fall apart. I don't want your heart to be as dark as mine. If you leave now and come back a year later, your relationship will still be the same. At least you won't have to go through any unnecessary tests." Medusa was very thoughtful. She did not trust Yi Qinghan too much. "Elder sister, I know you don't trust Master. I'll help you test him and let you see what kind of choice he will make when faced with such a choice. If you're right, I'll take you away without hesitation. If you've misunderstood him, we'll stay, all right?" Emperor Yi didn't want to lie to Yi Qinghan. He didn't want to abandon him and leave. "How?" Medusa asked with a bitter smile. "I have a way." Emperor Yi got up and carried the Renhuang Guqin to the courtyard. Yi Qinghan sensed Emperor Ye's figure and walked out. Seeing her holding the Emperor's Guqin, he asked in surprise, "My son, why aren't you sleeping in the middle of the night? You're still thinking about cultivating, Wang." Emperor Ye's 10 fingers plucked the 9 strings of the Guqin. The sound of the guqin reverberated and blasted directly into Yi Qinghan's consciousness. Yi Qinghan could never have imagined that Emperor Yi would attack him. His divine sense was instantly lost and he fell into an illusion. Emperor Yi gestured with his finger and flicked it gently. He projected Yi Qinghan's illusory realm in his sea of consciousness. Medusa looked at Yi Qinghan's illusory realm. There was no anticipation in her eyes. Obviously, it was impossible. However, she was more afraid. She was afraid that she would see something that she did not want to see. In the illusory realm, the three of them lived a carefree life on the beach. Day after day, they lived the life of a man plowing and a woman weaving. They fished for prawns and braved the wind and waves. 8 months passed quickly. In the last 3 days, Gu Qingyu led the Lulan army to surround Owl War Star. Countless heroes from the endless universe descended. They accused Medusa and forced Yi Qinghan to hand her over. Medusa's body tensed up. Her eyes were filled with shock. Looking at the illusory realm, it felt like reality. It was as if she had returned to the past. Give up. I don't want to see. Medusa pleaded. Sister, look carefully. Even if he retreats, you won't lose anything. If he doesn't retreat, you will at least get him, right? Emperor Yi played the melody faster and faster. The sound of the zither became more and more tragic. It was vast and mighty in the void, attracting the little golden crow and the parrot. They looked at Yi Qinghan's empty eyes. The scene in his sea of consciousness was outlined. Countless heroes descended. Surprisingly, the little golden crow and the parrot did not forcefully awaken Yi Qinghan. Kakik, little master is mighty and domineering. I also want to see what this guy will choose. The parrot laughed. An unscrupulous master naturally had an unscrupulous spirit pet. I won't speak. I'll just watch, the little golden crow said. The colorful snake was the one who really didn't speak. It stared at Medusa from the corner of its eyes. If Yi Qinghan chose to retreat, it would swallow Medusa without hesitation. Qinghan, get out of the way. Today, we must kill Medusa. Gu Qingyu said coldly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Zi Tian, Sikong Qingjun, and Stan Wuxia all surrounded Yi Qinghan and asked him to retreat. Heaven's equal Monkey King, Shen Ke, Leaf Dao Denier, Yi Feng, and the other superpowers had all arrived, their killing intent radiating out in all directions. There was no difference between an illusion and reality, and Yi Qinghan couldn't tell whether this was an illusion or reality. Yi Qinghan frowned. He held the heavy crazy supreme sword and stood in front of Medusa. He said coldly, I will take responsibility for Medusa. Everyone, retreat. How are you going to take responsibility? Don't be impulsive and ignore the lives of all living things. There are still 3 days. Once she succeeds in evolving, we will all die. What are you thinking? Why are you still protecting her at this time? Shino asked angrily. Jian Qinshue looked at Yi Qinghan with resentment and said softly, Brother Qinghan, you can have any woman you want. As long as you agree, you can choose anyone in this world. Individually, we might not be as good as her, but with the 3 of us together, can we not be as good as Medusa? Xia Zi Luo, Jian Qinshue, and Shino Qinyan joined forces and pressured Yi Qinghan, forcing him to make a choice. Master, I have no intention of fighting with you. Please move out of the way. Stan Wuxia's blonde hair danced in the wind, and his killing intent spread out. Yi Qinghan, retreat. With your strength alone, how can you stop everyone in the world? Heaven's equal Monkey King clenched his iron fist and asked indifferently. Mister, please retreat. Everyone cupped their fists and pressed forward. Yi Qinghan sneered. He had completely fallen into the illusion. His aura kept rising, and he pressed against the void with his strength alone. I will never change my mind. I can pull you out of hell, and I can also beat you back to hell. Boom! With the 9-star mecha on his body, Yi Qinghan did not hesitate to use his foundation. Even his body became majestic, pressuring the parrot until it was speechless. It quickly said, "He is angry. He, little master, you are going to be in trouble." Medusa was surprised. Yi Qinghan's quick decision shocked her. He actually chose her. "Everyone in the arrogant sect, listen up. If you still recognize me as the sect master, you will all leave the Xiaolong region. If you don't, we will break all ties today. Don't blame me for being merciless." Yi Qinghan's aura turned cold. This kind of suspicion and questioning made him angry. He had sacrificed too much for the arrogant sect. Today's actions really disappointed him. "Forget it, I believe him. Don't test him again. Otherwise, he will be angry," Medusa quickly said. Yi Qinghan was too conceited and domineering. Once he made a decision, he wouldn't allow anyone to go against it or question it. He was never willing to explain himself. If they believed him, then they believed him. If they didn't, then they wouldn't say anything. After probing him for so long, they could see that he had made a decision. If they kept probing him, Yi Qinghan would definitely be very angry when he woke up. Medusa had experienced too much. She knew how to please someone. She was unwilling to touch Yi Qinghan's bottom line. Medusa was a real woman. She knew when to advance and retreat. Emperor Yi didn't dare to make Yi Qinghan angry. He hurriedly stopped playing the guqin and ran back to Medusa's room with his tail between his legs. He closed the door and windows and didn't dare to make a sound for a long time. Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched. He withdrew from the illusion. Thinking of the scene in the illusion, he could not help but tremble. He looked at Medusa's room angrily. He found the lost memory from the parrot's memory. He knew that it was Emperor Ye's doing and had nothing to do with Medusa. He could not help but smile bitterly. He pretended to be angry, kicked open the door, and directly dragged Emperor Yi back to his room. "Master, please spare me." "Ah." Emperor Ye's begging voice came from the room. He kept doing that. It was very inappropriate for children. The 3 divine beasts shook their heads and retreated. They ran to the outside world. "Heavens, see, please give me a beautiful female divine bird." The parrot faced the sea wind and roared exaggeratedly. The little golden crow almost fell into the sea. The multicolored snake shook its head and rushed into the grass in disdain, looking for a beautiful little snake. The aura of spring would always make humans, beasts, and males inflate. The divine beasts were no exception. The multicolored snake grabbed a powerful spiritual snake and directly rushed into the water. Instantly, the waves rose up. "Fuck, it's really a snake. Any species will do. Where can this divine bird find another divine bird?" The parrot lamented. Medusa's face was red. She crawled into her bed, but the entire room was shaking. She tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. In the mechanical civilization star region, the fire crows descended. They transmitted Yi Qinghan's order. Dong Huangyu carried it out without hesitation. He captured millions of criminals and forcefully sent them to the Supreme Ancient Purgatory. He also brought out all the experts from the Supreme Ancient Purgatory and arranged them to stay on a planet that had just experienced a great war. Right now, the endless plains were in a state of depression. All living things were recovering, and geniuses were emerging in large numbers. They were all madly cultivating, hoping to reach the Tao realm as soon as possible. The next day, Yi Qinghan woke up early. He thought of the illusion last night and knew that this matter would happen sooner or later. It would be a nightmare. After thinking for a moment, he muttered to himself, "I must nip this matter in the bud. The crazy sect cannot be used by others." After searching for a long time, he wanted to hand over the mission to them. However, the 3 divine beasts had already gone somewhere to reproduce. Yi Qinghan shook his head and smiled bitterly. Emperor Yi and Medusa's faces were red. They walked out of the 2 rooms and directly ran out of the courtyard. They didn't dare to look at Yi Qinghan. At the seaside, Medusa finally felt relieved. She played with Emperor Yi to her heart's content. She took off her clothes and swam on the beach. She wasn't worried at all that their bodies would be exposed. After all, other than the 3 of them, there was no one else on this planet. Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the beach, bitterly cultivating the battle character formula and wind mark. His soul left his body and evolved into a golden body. He rushed into the depths of the sea and killed the sea with a single spear strike. The great Tao rumbled, domineering and cold. His masculine aura made the heavens and the earth submit. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Windmark's speed was the fastest in countless eras. It could capture the traces of the wind, but it couldn't capture Yi Qinghan's traces. The countless water dragons coiled on the sponge with no end in sight. When they raised their heads slightly, they touched the peak of the dome of heaven. Their fangs shattered the heavens, vivid and lifelike, causing one to despair. Chapter 439. The endless emperors had gone into seclusion, and all the heroes had risen to fight for the position of emperor. Now that Yi Qinghan had eliminated the mechanical civilization, destroyed the Forbidden Land, and unified the Endless Dynasty, it had stimulated the hearts of all the heroes. In this life, no one would be able to overshadow his brilliance without attaining the Tao. The rise of the young, the emergence of the old, the endless universe had many unfamiliar faces. They were incomparably powerful, but all of this had nothing to do with Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan didn't know either. He just peacefully enjoyed his life on Owl War Star, bitterly cultivating his secret technique. The parrot left Owl War Star and rushed towards the sovereign domain with the multicolored snake. On the second day after arriving at the sovereign domain, the peaceful insane sect suddenly made a big move. They set up camp in Emperor Abyss City, and even mobilized the mechanical civilization. With Emperor Abyss City as the base, they formed a huge half-moon shape, surrounding the Forbidden Land. Everyone received an order that they were forbidden to communicate with Lin Chenfeng, and they were to attack him on sight. Everyone was shocked. Although they didn't know why, the insane sect was targeting the Forbidden Land. Everyone had to obey this order, or they would be considered traitors. Qitian Monkey King was astonished. He did not understand why Kuang Zong would issue such an order. Now, everyone knew that once Lin Chenfeng unleashed a power that surpassed the great emperor realm, the endless plains would collapse. Wasn't provoking him now just asking for trouble? Brother Gu, why is this so? Qitian Monkey King arrived at Emperor Abyss City and asked curiously. I don't know. It's a message from Qinghan. In short, we can't communicate with Lin Chenfeng. No matter what he says, we can't believe him. Also, no one is allowed to cross this line and enter the Forbidden Land, Gu Qingyu said indifferently. Did you find his location? I want to challenge him to a battle. Qitian Monkey King's aura was soul-stirring, and his battle intent was overflowing. Only a few people dared to challenge Yi Qinghan. They were the true elites of the past. Yan Yunbei, Yi Linchen, Zi Tian, Nye Tian, and Xia Ziluo. The current younger generation hadn't reached that level yet. Gu Qingyu shrugged and shook his head. The message from the divine bird said that it disappeared with the multicolored snake. If it wants to leave, I definitely won't be able to find it. Everyone rolled their eyes at the mention of the divine bird. In the divine ghost sect, Shen-Kai was clad in an imperial battle robe as he stood at the peak of a mountain. He was one of the elites of the past. In terms of cultivation level, he was the first to step into the false emperor realm. His battle prowess was extraordinary. If he didn't have the 9-star mecha, he might not have lost to Yi Qinghan. Reporting. Lord Sect Master, a message has come from the Star River Path. A madman has used a secret technique that was missing from the ancient Divine Gate, the Divine Gate's 13-sword style. A black-clothed spy rushed over and reported while kneeling. What? 13 sword styles of the Divine Gate? Have you found out who the other party is? Shen-Kai was shocked. This sword technique had been lost for a long time. Even his master, the Six Calamities Azure Dragon, did not know how to use it. The other party looks very young, but his clothes are sloppy. He looks like a madman. He should be a supreme existence that has been sealed for hundreds of thousands of years. We can't get close. If we get within 1,000 miles of him, we'll be killed. Even if we use the Divine Ghost Sect's secret technique, he won't recognize us. The scout hurriedly explained. What is his cultivation level? Shen-Kai asked with a frown. He should be a boundary emperor. His battle prowess is too strong. He can kill a young supreme expert with a single sword, the scout replied once again. Shen-Kai flickered with a bright light. He left with his sword in hand. His figure leaped, and in a flash, he traveled 1,000 miles and headed straight for the Star River Path. The Star River Path was once a path for great emperors to train. However, it was too dangerous and had long been abandoned. Apart from the true elites, not many dared to approach it. No one would have thought that someone would accidentally open it last year, and a large number of experts would rush in. There was a rugged star river where stars stood in great numbers. Powerful ancient beasts were like stars, and a single punch could destroy a star. They were curled up like stars, waiting for the arrival of experts to devour their vitality. The starting point of the Star River Path was at the southeastern border of the Endless Plains. It was said that even the great emperors could not find the end point. In a withered Star River, a youth holding a dragon-shaped broken sword was walking on the Star River Path. He killed many experts along the way and slaughtered many beasts. His speed was extremely fast. Jacan, who had disappeared for many years, had actually gone deep into the Star River Path. Looking at the scene here, he should have gone very far into the Star River Path. At this moment, his eyes were as deep as the stars. The great Tao in his eyes was incomplete. He had already cultivated the path of incomplete martial arts to the realm of great success, officially stepping into the realm of Boundary Emperor. He was even stronger than Shen-Kai's realm. Legend has it that when you reach the end, you can prove your Tao. I hope this legend is true. Jacan's voice was hoarse. It was unknown how long it had been since he last spoke. Even his voice had changed a little. It was incomparably choppy. Less than 30,000 miles behind Jacan, Yifeng stood in the void with an elegant demeanor. He had not participated in the great battle all these years as he was obsessed with proving his Tao. Now, his cultivation was heaven-defying. He had also stepped into the realm of Boundary Emperor and could enter the realm of Boundary Emperor at any time. Experts like Yifeng and Jacan appeared inexplicably on the Star River Path. Their clothes were strange, as if they were not people of the endless space. However, they spoke the language of the endless space, full of ancient charm. They should be existences who had sealed themselves for a long time. Lu Wei was one of them. He wore an azure dragon robe and held the Dark Yang sword in his hand. The Dark Yang sword emitted a scorching heat. His figure turned around and disappeared from the stellar path, leaving behind only an exceptional divine appearance and long hair that fluttered in the wind. Chaos Moon was a beautiful girl. She had started from the beginning of the Milky Way road and was invincible all the way. The long spear in her hand was like Ming Ke's god-slaying sorcerer spear. Even if the enemy was 1,000 miles away, she could still throw it ruthlessly. No one could stop her. Even the stars could be pierced through. Yishui was cold. A cold sword could freeze the heavens. Wherever it passed, it would turn into ice. A peak attack could freeze a huge star. Shangguan Hanfeng held the broken demon spirit saber in his hand, killing people in fear. There were also many people who had killed their way into the depths of the Star River path in search of treasures and opportunities. Zhe Can and Yi Feng did not know any of these people. They appeared inexplicably as if they had appeared out of thin air. Halfway on the Star River path, a young man with disheveled hair and ragged clothes stood on a star like a madman. He did not move. As long as others did not get close to the star he stood on, he would not attack. However, if anyone got close to him, they would die without a doubt. There were two super experts of the younger generation who did not believe this and went to provoke him. In the end, their corpses just floated in the void and floated into the distance. They did not even have the chance to resist. The two super experts made people not dare to get close to them. They all left the star and took a detour. Shen Ke looked at the young man from afar and found that the young man seemed to be looking for something on the star. The sword in his hand was indeed the sword of the Divine Gate, and it was very famous. 230,000 years ago, there was a super expert of the younger generation in the Divine Gate, Xian Yan. He practiced the Divine Gate's 13 swords to the extreme. When everyone thought that he was going to prove his Tao, he entered the Star River path. Later, he went crazy for no reason and returned to the Divine Gate to kill. Could it be him? Xian Yan. Shen Ke did not get close. If it was really that madman, his sword could pierce through Yi Qinghan, let alone him. It can't be. He was already crazy when he disappeared back then. How could he seal himself? If he did not seal himself, how could he live until now? Shen Ke frowned and muttered to himself as he slowly approached the young man. The news of the Star River path being opened spread to the endless universe and to the imperial region, attracting countless experts. Even Di Shan wanted to go in and explore, let alone the younger generation. Qitian Monkey King took the lead and rushed towards the Star River path without hesitation. Si Wuxia also left, and Lin Wuqian followed closely behind. The two juniors of the insane sect represented their seniors and fought to open a bloody path. No one knew that the first ones to arrive were not the two of them, but the parrot and the multicolored snake. The multicolored snake followed the parrot and swept everything in its path. Who did not know the name of the despicable bird? No one dared to stop them, and they directly opened a path for them to enter the Star River path. Ha ha ha, this divine bird has finally found this place. The supreme throne, wait for me. I will definitely become the all-beast divine emperor and rule the world. The parrot laughed wildly, causing a group of people to roll their eyes. Hiss, 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 the multicolored snake stuck out its forked tongue as if it was discussing something. The parrot rolled its eyes and scolded disdainfully, use your brain. That guy has two beauties by his side. Aren't we just looking for trouble if we go back? Also, do you think he will come out now? He won't appear even if the sky falls and the earth shatters, let alone the Star River path. The multicolored snake felt that it would not be good if it did not inform Yi Qinghan about this. However, the parrot shook its head helplessly and said, listen to this divine bird. Even if you go back now, he won't come out. How can I not know what he is thinking? He obviously wants to conquer Medusa. Even if someone confirms their Tao, he won't interfere. He is a conceited person. If someone claims to be an emperor, he can also tear the sky apart and confirm his Tao. The multicolored snake seemed to understand and nodded. It followed the parrot and rushed into the Star River path. Along the way, the path was not clear, but the parrot would appear wherever there were treasures. Yi Qinghan never expected that the Star River path would appear at this time. All the young experts who could be crowned emperors would run towards the Star River path. Who would care about Medusa? Even Shenong Qinyan threw the matter of Medusa to the back of her mind. She directly led the Ghost Emperor and the other three quasi-emperors to the Star River path. With the Ghost Emperor opening the path, who would dare to stop them? On Owl War Star, time slowly passed. 3 months, 4 months, no one disturbed them, and Medusa's anxious heart gradually calmed down. The parrot did not appear for a long time, and Yi Qinghan felt uneasy. If not for the fact that he could still feel the existence of the contract, he would have rushed out to look for it. In the 8th month, Yi Qinghan cultivated the battle character formula to the 5th layer, battle art. Furthermore, he used it to the point of perfection. He was half a step away from the word sage. Unfortunately, he lacked the opportunity to step into that level. The 1st layer of the battle character formula, tyrannical. The 2nd layer, frenzy. The 3rd layer, seal. The 4th layer, defy. The 5th layer, battle. The 6th layer, sage. Over the past few months, Emperor Yi had swallowed a stalk of divine medicine. It was the divine medicine that Medusa had seized from the Forbidden Lands, which had allowed her to directly step into the quasi-emperor realm. Her combat prowess made Yi Qinghan blush with shame. This kind of monstrous physique was simply abnormally strong. There were still 8 days before the successful evolution. Medusa became somewhat enraged, and her mind was somewhat out of control. The after-effects from back then were showing once again, and it was somewhat terrifying. Chapter 440. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi watched the agitated Medusa pacing back and forth on the beach. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. At this moment, Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan understood that Medusa really couldn't control herself. Her mania was constantly tormenting her. The closer it was to the last day, the crazier she became. "Master, what should we do?" Emperor Yi asked anxiously. "She has to rely on herself. If she can't overcome it, I can only kill her," Yi Qinghan said solemnly. "No, master, she's my sister. You have to save her. We can try anything. I'm really unwilling to kill her now." Emperor Yi asked anxiously. Boom, 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 waves surged and drenched Medusa's dress. She walked barefoot on the beach, her red eyes occasionally glowing. It was extremely terrifying. Rustle, 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 Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan walked towards Medusa. She retreated in disgust and said through gritted teeth, "Get lost. I told you to get lost." "Sister, I'm your son," Emperor Yi said gently. Medusa's expression was ferocious. She kept struggling. The scenes from back then kept replaying in her mind. She was beaten until her flesh was lacerated and she was insulted. This made her even more furious. "Medusa, everyone has unbearable memories. My son has them, and so do I. We're living very well now because we're willing to open our hearts and accept each other. In these 8 months, we've treated you like family. Your body's essence is like a divine medicine. But did we covet it? No. Did we have any expectations for you? No. We just hope that you can live like a normal person." Yi Qinghan persuaded her in a low voice. "Shut up." Medusa angrily interrupted Yi Qinghan. Buzz Emperor Yi played the Jingxin wedding. The sound of nature silenced the world and the sea. There wasn't even a ripple. However, the more peaceful the music was, the more agitated Medusa became. She wanted nothing more than to kill Emperor Yi. Yi Qinghan forced Medusa to retreat into the sea, submerging her twin peaks. Her crimson eyes became more and more beautiful, and her breathing became rapid. Yi Qinghan reached out to grab Medusa and said in a hoarse voice, "Medusa, you hate what happened back then. In order to take revenge on Yin Tian, you gave up all your friends. Was it worth it? 10,000 people, 10,000 clouds." Medusa struggled and said sternly. "Where is my son?" For you, she didn't hesitate to kneel down. If she was someone like Yin Tian, why did she only know how to protect you and not eat your flesh? If she is like Yin Tian, why would she be willing to go against me for you? Yi Qinghan pulled her into his arms and looked down at her enchanting face and crimson eyes. His expression was as gentle as possible, as he was afraid of angering Medusa's ferocious nature. Yi Qinghan's expression was gentle, but his voice was filled with majesty as it blasted into Medusa's consciousness. Medusa's expression changed slightly, and she murmured, "My son is a good girl. I am her sister. I won't kill her. You said that the eccentric sect would lead an army to kill you. Have they come?" "Not yet. Because they trust me 100%. You can trust me this once. I promise I won't let you down." Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and said in a hoarse voice, "Medusa, people's hearts are complicated. Who hasn't met a few scum? What you missed out on is not because you don't deserve it, but because you deserve better. For example, my son. For example, me." Medusa's body tensed up, and she glared at Yi Qinghan. The red in her eyes gradually faded, and her vision blurred. She was about to fall asleep. "In order for you to open your heart, accept the world like a son, and live a happy life like a human being, I gave up the entire world and lived a happy life with you on Owl War Planet. Do you still not understand my intentions?" Yi Qinghan's voice became softer and softer, and his expression became softer and softer. It made people drowsy, and Medusa was no exception. "Sleep. When you wake up tomorrow, you will realize that the sky is as beautiful as the sky. The hearts of those who acknowledge you are not so greedy and heartless. What you have lost is nothing. What you have gained now is the best." Yi Qinghan's large hand brushed past Medusa's eyelids, and he completely hypnotized her. Huff, 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 Emperor Yi exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, not daring to make a sound. Yi Qinghan carried Medusa out of the sea, dried her clothes, and carried her back to her room. Then, he retreated. Emperor Yi impatiently greeted him and asked, "Master, is it really okay?" Yi Qinghan's eyes were filled with worry. Medusa's stubbornness and madness far exceeded that of others. She didn't trust anyone at all, and when she lost her rationality, even Emperor Yi could be killed. So long as she had such a thought, the endless plains would completely collapse. There was no way to gamble on this matter, because if they lost, everyone would die. "I don't know. There are still 7 days. When she wakes up, we'll know if there's a chance to persuade her and change her," Yi Qinghan whispered. Emperor Ye's face was deathly pale. He had sacrificed so much. Was that the only path he could choose? "My son, you have to understand that I'm not gambling. I won't gamble your life and everyone's lives on Medusa. If I'm not 100% confident, I hope you won't blame me," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Emperor Yi sat in the courtyard, dispirited. He didn't know what to do. On the Milky Way road, Shen Ke closed in on the madman step by step. However, he felt uneasy and didn't dare to get too close. When he was 1,000 miles away, Shen Ke stood in the void and bowed. "Greetings, Senior. May I ask if Senior is ancestor Xian Yan?" The response to Shen Ke was a sharp sword that tore through the sky. It also tore apart the Tao hearts of the heroes within 10,000 miles. The sword slashed out 13 sword lights, each of them capable of stealing souls. Shen Ke was shocked and hurriedly retreated. Although he was careful and prepared to retreat at any time, he was still one step too slow. Puchi, the sword chi rushed into his body and directly cut through his defenses. Blood poured out into the river, and Shen Ke was sent flying. His eyes were filled with shock. However, the madman didn't chase after him. He just kept walking on the star as if he was looking for something. Shen Ke had escaped certain death, but his Tao heart had almost collapsed. Such a quasi-emperor couldn't prove his Tao. What kind of person could prove his Tao? How did such a person go crazy? Did the great emperor come in person? Shen Ke wasn't the only one thinking this. The nearby people were also shocked. Their Tao hearts trembled, and their beliefs almost collapsed. Many people couldn't use such a sword move in their entire lives. However, This was just a normal sword move from the madman. However, he had gone crazy. If he didn't prove his Tao, how could he prove his Tao? Shen Ke racked his brains to think about that period of history. However, it seemed that other than the divine ghost sex record of Xian Yayin, there was almost no history of that era. No one knew what happened in that era, and no one knew what Xian Yayin experienced to go crazy. The parrot and the colorful snake saw everything and were so shocked that their roots ached. They looked at Xian Yayin's figure that was gradually getting farther and farther away. They didn't dare to chase after him. Xian Yayin. Xian Yayin. The parrot's fur stood on end. It held its head with both hands and shouted in shock, such a familiar name. Why can't I remember it? Father, what are you hiding from me? Why can't I know anything the more I want to know? The parrot was helpless. Not all of the inherited memories were passed down. Some of them were passed down because the elders didn't want to, so they disappeared with them forever. Hiss, 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 the colorful snake stuck out its tongue and swung its slender tail. It smashed the parrot's head and woke it up. Damn, you dare attack this divine bird? The parrot cursed and said angrily, do you want to die? Hiss, 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 the colorful snake turned its head away, unwilling to pay attention to the parrot. Forget it. This divine bird won't bicker with you. There are treasures on this planet. Let's sneak in and don't alarm Xian Yayin. We'll take the treasures and leave. The parrot was bold and wanted to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The colorful snake looked at the lonely figure and decisively rejected the parrot's suggestion. You piece of trash. Why are you so cowardly? Aren't you about to evolve to the 9th stage? Although Xian Yayin is powerful, he's gone crazy. His battle prowess can't be even 1/10 of his peak. Let's sneak in. There won't be any problems. Listen to me. After the parrot finished speaking, it dragged the colorful snake and flew toward the Death Star, shocking everyone. Shen Ke was angry, but he didn't stop it. He wanted to know why the parrot ran to the Death Star. His divine sense was locked onto the colorful snake and the parrot. The colorful snake had no choice but to cooperate. It quietly slithered closer and closer to the Death Star. Xian Yayin walked further and further away. He seemed to sense the flow of energy behind him. He suddenly turned around and glared at the parrot and the colorful snake. The colorful snake arched its body and assumed an attacking posture. The parrot's feathers stood on end, and it flapped its wings in surrender. Senior Xian, I know where the thing you're looking for is. Let's talk. The parrot immediately compromised in a wretched manner. It didn't look like a battle at all. Boom. 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 Xian Yayin turned around and walked toward the parrot and the colorful snake. The cold azure sword in his hand seemed capable of stealing souls. His fingertips constantly flickered with the sword sheath, ready to unsheath at any moment. A sword attack would illuminate the entire region. The parrot and the multicolored snake backed up, not daring to provoke this madman. Although his attacks were terrifying, they weren't at the peak of his battle prowess. However, if he was attacked by someone else, and then unleashed a sword move, it would be terrifying. Not even a young Grand Emperor would have been able to defeat him. Senior Xian, what are you looking for? Ha ha ha. I'm a spirit-devouring divine eagle. I'm very smart, and my nose is more sensitive than a dog's. Tell me, and I'll help you find it. The parrot said without any moral integrity. Everyone rejoiced in his misfortune. This lowly bird finally knew fear. Xian Yayin got closer and closer to the colorful snake and the parrot. Half of his face was covered by his messy black hair, but from the other half, it could be seen that he was as handsome as jade. Even though he had been decadent and crazy for hundreds of thousands of years, he still couldn't hide his heroic spirit. However, his eyes were a bit turbid, as if his divine sense had been scattered. He was missing one of his 3 souls, causing him to have no spiritual energy. Spirit-devouring divine eagle. Xian Yan muttered. His eyes were a bit confused, and his words were very stiff. It was as if he hadn't spoken in tens of thousands of years. Yes, yes, yes. That's me. I'm that kind of divine bird. The parrot nodded. Delicious. Xian Yan said again. The parrot was driven mad, and it almost cursed out loud. Chapter 441. Delicious, although the murmur was very soft, it spread into the void and reached everyone's ears. No, no, no. This divine bird's greatness lies in its wisdom. It will benefit all living things in this plane, not be eaten by humans. The parrot retreated and pulled the snake in front. Hiss, 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 the snake was on high alert. Facing such an expert was like facing Yi Qinghan. His attacks were too sharp and too terrifying. It didn't know when it would die under his hands. The sword was unsheathed. The sword light split the void and attacked the parrot and the snake. Shio, 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 the 13 sword forms were unstoppable, sealing off the 2 divine beasts' paths of escape. Such a terrifying attack was just a subconscious attack from Xian Yan. The multicolored snake was shocked. It turned into a divine snake and its speed reached the extreme. It escaped through the gaps between the sword chi. Its skin was cut by the sword chi, but it dodged and attacked Xian Yan at an extremely fast speed. Xian Yan. Do you still remember that year? Do you remember what you've been hovering here all this time? What are you looking for? The parrot roared. Its speed was not as good as the snake's, and its strength was not as good. If Xian Yan didn't take the initiative to attack, it would definitely die. Xian Yan hesitated for a moment, and his sword slowed down. The parrot took the opportunity to escape from the attack range. When the snake saw this, it immediately stopped attacking and retreated to the parrot's side. Do you remember what you were looking for? Calm down, let's talk. I'll help you find it. We can definitely find it. The parrot hurriedly said. I was looking for. Xian Yan shook his head. His black hair scattered in the air. He tried hard to recall the missing memories in his sea of consciousness. He tried hard to recall what he wanted, but there was only a peerless divine figure in his mind. That figure was too fast, so fast that it was unimaginable. It was even faster than a great emperor. He couldn't capture it. He could only see a white dress and beautiful long hair. A woman, long hair, white dress, very fast. Xian Yan muttered hoarsely. He recalled the fragmented images in his mind. Suddenly, that peerless woman punched him in the head and stepped on him. He could only see her angry eyes filled with red light. Her eyes were like glass. After that, his memories completely disappeared. He can't be looking for Medusa, right? The parrot and the multicolored snake looked at each other. The only person who could beat Xian Yan silly was that freak. On the 2nd day of Medusa's mania, which was also the 7th day before her successful evolution, she woke up after being hypnotized by Yi Qinghan. Her condition improved, but she was still unwilling to come into contact with Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and clenched his fists. He restrained his killing intent and stepped into Medusa's room. Medusa's fear and anger were self-evident. She curled up on the bed and glared at Yi Qinghan. She said hoarsely, "Don't come over. I beg you, spare me, don't hit me, I didn't mean to lie to you." Medusa was like a madwoman. Her memories were in chaos and her eyes were cloudy. She looked at Yi Qinghan and began to fall into a daze. She thought that Yi Qinghan was Yun Tian. The two people's faces would sometimes separate and sometimes merge. She was so frightened that her face turned pale. Gotcha, Yi Qinghan was furious. He didn't understand how Yun Tian had tortured Medusa in the past. How could he have tortured a terrifying existence into a madwoman? Moreover, she hadn't recovered even after 1,000,000 years. As a titled great emperor, how can he be so crazy about the woman he loves? This kind of man deserves to die. Yi Qinghan couldn't bear it. He looked at Medusa's malevolent expression and wanted to change her more and more. He didn't want to simply kill her and end everything. I am Yi Qinghan. Not that person. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. He walked to the bedside and gently hugged Medusa. No matter how she struggled, he didn't let go. He held her tightly in his arms and didn't dare to make the slightest movement. On the first day, Medusa trembled and struggled with all her might. On the second day, she didn't struggle, but she was still trembling. On the third day, she wept silently. Yi Qinghan began to gently comfort her. His large hand gently patted Medusa's back, hoping that she would be able to sleep peacefully. On the fourth day, on the fifth day, on the sixth day, on the last day, Yi Qinghan was nervous, but Emperor Yi was even more nervous. On this last day, Medusa entered a frenzied state. She began to bite and struggle. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were both gathered in the room, waiting for the final decision. Master. Please think of a way. Even if you have to steal her primordial yin, it's fine as long as you don't kill her. Emperor Yi whispered to Yi Qinghan, making a concession. He really didn't want Yi Qinghan to raise his butcher's knife and let Medusa experience despair a second time. But how could Emperor Yi have imagined that if Yi Qinghan really did steal Medusa's primordial yin, she would feel even more despair? After all, the memories of the past were still vivid in her mind. Yi Qinghan held Medusa's soft head in his hands. He looked at Medusa's ferocious face and gently kissed her jade lips. The atmosphere in the room suddenly stagnated, and the silence made one's hair stand on end. Emperor Yi wasn't jealous or sad. He only hoped that Yi Qinghan would be able to save Medusa. No matter what concession he had to make, it would be worth it. Yi Qinghan pried open Medusa's defenses. Her breasts were smooth and tender, and it felt like an electric current was running through her body. At this moment, perhaps Yi Qinghan had truly fallen in love with this pitiful woman. His eyes were filled with tenderness, and he wanted to hug her, to take pity on her, to give her the warmest and safest embrace in the world. Medusa struggled wildly at first, her glassy eyes staring into Yi Qinghan's eyes. She saw the love and tenderness in his eyes, and her entire body tensed up. Then, she actually let go of her defenses, allowing Yi Qinghan to do as he pleased. However, Yi Qinghan didn't push himself too far. Instead, he let go of her breasts and bent down to look at Medusa. He said in a hoarse voice, "I am not anyone else. I am only Yi Qinghan. I am the Yi Qinghan who has been peacefully protecting you for the past half a year. I will not harm you, nor will I abuse you. From today onwards, I will protect you like I protect my son. I will help you through every evolution. I believe that my son will do the same. Big sister. I beg of you. Don't let your inner demons loose. Master and I will protect you. As long as you can endure this day and tomorrow, everything will be fine." Emperor Yi slowly approached the bed and reached out to grab Medusa's hand. Medusa didn't know where to put her hands. At this moment, Medusa was completely silent. Her eyes were filled with gratitude. She was grateful for Emperor Ye's magnanimity. She was grateful that Yi Qinghan was willing to make such a crazy gamble for her. He was willing to gamble with the lives of an entire plane and his own life. "Yi Qinghan, take my primordial yin. I don't have the confidence to survive tomorrow. I don't want to hurt you." Medusa lowered her head and took the initiative to undress herself. Her entire body trembled, and her soft, boneless body made it impossible for anyone to refuse. She had cultivated for millions of years and evolved countless times to reach her current accomplishments. Now, she had to hand it over. She was extremely unwilling, but she was willing to do so. She raised her head and smiled. It was a poignant yet beautiful smile. She happily said, "Thank you very much for allowing me to feel love and protection at the end of my life. I am very happy to give my primordial Yin to you." However, Yi Qinghan pressed down on her hand. Giving up halfway wasn't his style. If he were to take Medusa's primordial Yin now, his cultivation might stop here for the rest of his life. His Tao heart would also be damaged. "No. I don't need your primordial Yin. This is the result of your millions of years of bitter cultivation. You should keep it and protect the people you want to protect. I need you to be able to restrain yourself, and so does my son. There is no inner demon in this world that cannot be restrained. You are powerful, the most powerful existence in the endless plains. Could it be that you are not as strong as a beggar? No matter how heartless you are, you should never give up on life. That is because there is still hope, isn't that right?" Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. "But I really can't restrain myself. I beg you, please let me go in peace. I don't want to wake up tomorrow and see the fragments of your stone sculptures." Medusa sobbed helplessly. "That's because your will to protect my son wasn't firm enough. If you were firm enough, why wouldn't you be able to restrain yourself from harming her? Think about it. How did she protect you? Didn't she give up all of her principles and bottom lines just to save your life? Without your primordial Yin, how long can you live? 3 years? 5 years? Without your magic power, I don't think you'll be able to live for even a single day." Yi Qinghan rebuked in a low voice. Medusa fell silent, a hint of hesitation in her eyes. "Since you're willing to give up your primordial Yin for us and aren't even afraid of death, why are you afraid of not being able to control yourself? Is the memories of the past more important, or is Emperor Ye's and my life more important? Could it be that the three of us added together aren't as important as that bastard?" Yi Qinghan asked angrily. "No. You're more important," Medusa said without hesitation. "Then prove it to us," Yi Qinghan coldly said. Time passed, minute by minute, second by second. As Medusa's final evolution approached, Emperor Ye's breathing began to quicken. Yi Qinghan was worried, and Medusa was even more tensed. She steeled her will, not wanting to lose control. "My son, leave the room first. Even if she loses control, I can still hold her back for a while." Yi Qinghan activated his 5 elements Tao body, and the breathing earth began to flow through his blood. His dragon blood boiled, and his veins bulged. He didn't know if he could block Medusa's petrification ability, but he was willing to take a gamble. "I'm willing to bet my life for your happiness." Yi Qinghan was resolute. He held Medusa's face in his hand, and their eyes met. He said what he wanted to say the most. It was very simple. There was no flirting or exaggeration, but it was more convincing than any other oath. "Thank you, for making me forget some things. I want to forget more and never think of them." Medusa took the initiative to kiss Yi Qinghan. She began to take the initiative to block out the distracting thoughts in her mind. She let her mind be filled with Yi Qinghan's hard-won love and pity. Yi Qinghan's large hand gently stroked her soft back, sliding gently from her back to her chest. Night fell. Emperor Yi hugged the human emperor's zither and stood in the courtyard. He was counting the days until tomorrow, when everything would be bright. Buzz buzz buzz, the sound of nature rang out, adding to the mood of the two in the room. There was no jealousy, only hope that they could merge and dissolve their hatred. The moon rose, and the moonlight was like water, pouring down on Owl Warstar. Chapter 442. In the past year, more and more super-elites had risen. When a super-existence fell, a strange young man could rise to the sky at any time. He was invincible as he stepped onto the Milky Way road. The older generation of the crazy sect also began to step onto the Milky Way. They went deeper and deeper. Xian Yan was tricked by the parrot into going deeper into the Milky Way road to buy some time for Yi Qinghan. There was still an hour before the evolution. Emperor Yi stared at the night sky. His heartbeat quickened. He hoped that time would slow down, but at the same time, he couldn't wait for the next day. Yi Qinghan stared at Medusa in his arms and saw that a pair of tender dragon horns had sprouted from her head. They looked like they would break with a snap of his fingers. Her mana was slowly recovering, and his heart stopped beating in that instant. Humph! With a groan, Medusa's face turned ugly. Her 5 fingers scratched Yi Qinghan's arm. Her eyes turned. Her face was sometimes ferocious and sometimes calm. Thump, 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 her frantic heartbeat was like a dragon's heart. It beat wildly and hit her chest. Yi Qinghan was very nervous. There was less than half an hour before the evolution was complete. He felt that time was passing. It was getting harder and harder to control Medusa. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't control her. Kill me. Medusa finally sobered up after much difficulty. She spoke with determination once again. Medusa's desire to live was strong. She kept asking for death, which meant that she was not sure she could control herself. Yi Qinghan's face became more and more ugly. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. He had worked for so long and couldn't see the end. But to kill Medusa? He couldn't do it. Swish, 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 Yi Qinghan rushed out of the room with Medusa in his arms and landed on the moonlit ocean. He felt the surging might of the ocean, and with a swipe of his hand, the entire ocean undulated. The ocean gathered towards the center, and countless water pillars roared and rushed into the clouds. Yi Qinghan carried Medusa and rushed into the clouds. He soared higher and higher until he reached the peak of the sky. He continued to climb, and the full moon was within reach, overlooking all life. The ocean is vast, and I can even conquer it. Can't you even conquer your inner demons? You are stronger than me. You have lived for millions of years. You can do this. Yi Qinghan looked at Medusa's face and said in a deep voice. Medusa roared crazily as she bared her fangs and stabbed them into Yi Qinghan's shoulder, causing blood to flow out. I'm giving you my son's life, my own life, and the entire plane's life, because I trust you. I hope you can trust us, Yi Qinghan said hoarsely without struggling. Boom! The last day and the last second passed. Medusa's eyes turned grayish-white. Even the void was petrified. Her hands tore Yi Qinghan's 5 elements Dao body until it was distorted. However, she desperately wanted to shift her eyes away from Yi Qinghan. However, she could not control herself. All she could do was hug Yi Qinghan's waist tightly. Her fingers dug into his back as she leaned her head on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and looked down into the depths of the sea. The seawater beneath their feet continued to petrify and extend downwards. Yi Qinghan did not move. He just quietly hugged Medusa and gave everything to her will. If she could survive, the world would be at peace. If she could not, even he would not be able to escape. Medusa's body tensed up. The glassy color completely covered her eyes. It was like 2 gemstones were embedded in her eye sockets. I can. Medusa muttered as she struggled. However, the memories in her sea of consciousness were like maggots that gnawed at her soul. It made her feel so much pain that she wished she was dead. Kill. 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 Medusa's mind was only filled with killing. She only wanted to vent the anger in her heart. Her killing intent grew stronger and stronger. Her killing intent flooded the land. Owl War Planet was enveloped by a terrifying aura. Below, Emperor Yi did not dare to move at all for fear of angering Medusa. Do you think you'll feel better after killing them? You want to kill because you are addicted to it. It is not revenge. Otherwise, you would have killed everyone on this plane long ago. As a transcendence expert, you can't even kick your addiction to killing? Yi Qinghan rebuked hoarsely. Boom! Medusa's anger overwhelmed her heart. She smashed Yi Qinghan away with a palm strike. Her glassy eyes glared angrily at Yi Qinghan, drowning him. Yi Qinghan's pupils constricted. He could not dodge. He was petrified from his head to his entire body. He could not use his quintessential essence laws. His petrified body fell from the sky and smashed into the sea. He only had time to sigh inwardly. It's over. It's all over, no. Emperor Yi was horrified. He could feel that Yi Qinghan was leaving them. The moment Yi Qinghan was petrified, Medusa was also stunned. She felt as if her heart was being cut by a knife. She closed her glassy eyes and dove into the sea. However, it was too late. Yi Qinghan's stone statue sank to the bottom of the sea. The seawater churned and soon disappeared. Yi Qinghan's soul was still able to move, but his body was no longer able to move. He was like a piece of rock. His organs had all been petrified, and the stone statue had imprisoned his soul. Yi Qinghan's soul could still move. The parrot and the colorful snake on the Milky Way road fell asleep at the same time. Xian Yain picked them up and hung them on his body. The mechanical civilization's fire crow fell from the sky billions of miles away and fell into a coma. Fortunately, Jian Qinxue picked it up. Looking at the sleeping fire crow, Jian Qinxue knew something was wrong. Her fingertips trembled as she whispered, "Brother Qinghan is in trouble. This matter cannot be known by outsiders. Otherwise, the endless dynasty that was built with great difficulty will fall apart. The endless universe will once again fall into chaos." Whoosh, Jian Qinxue went straight to the Xiaolong region. Others might not be able to guess where Yi Qinghan went, but how could she not know? Emperor Yi moved the sea in the Xiao War Star and forcibly pulled Yi Qinghan out. He was completely petrified. Medusa was stunned on the spot. She looked at Emperor Yi in despair, but she was not angry. Instead, she was in more pain. At this moment, she would rather be scolded by Emperor Yi. Even if she attacked, he would let her kill him. However, Emperor Yi was in a state of chaos. His brain could not function at all. Yi Qinghan's divine senses surged desperately. He wanted to control his body and the universe ring, but the petrified body prevented the soul from moving. He could not move an inch. His divine senses were exhausted and he wanted to sleep. So Medusa's petrification only imprisoned the soul. She did not really kill anyone. Yi Qinghan suddenly realized that the soul of the expert in the stone sculpture did not die. They were just imprisoned. They could be imprisoned for their entire lives or for generations to come. However, once imprisoned, the stone sculpture could not be broken. Once the stone sculpture was broken, the soul would dissipate. Yi Qinghan's divine senses moved frantically. He kept moving towards his right hand. Even if it moved by an inch, it would be a huge improvement. This was an action that consumed an extreme amount of the soul. Without a terrifying willpower, the soul would have fallen into a deep sleep and would never wake up. But what Yi Qinghan didn't know was that Xian Yain had also used this method to break free from the stone sculpture's bindings. It was just that he had used up a lot of time because he wasn't Yi Qinghan. As long as I can control the universe ring and use the living soil, I can immediately revive my body. Yi Qinghan's willpower was firm. He had a 5 elements body and was different from others. His earth elemental body was mostly made up of the living soil. The energy in this world's most valuable treasure would never be exhausted. With the living soil as a foundation, as long as the body did not die, nothing would happen. Medusa calmed down and slowly walked in front of Yi Qinghan. Her jade-like hands touched the stone sculpture. For a moment, she did not know how to reverse the petrification. She had only used this method to kill before, but she had never saved anyone before. Medusa's divine senses were extremely powerful. She desperately drilled into Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness, hoping to receive a response from Yi Qinghan. Emperor Yi pursed his lips and did not go crazy to stop her. At this time, only Medusa could save Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's body was too strong. It was so strong that it could not be any stronger. Medusa could not quickly drill into his sea of consciousness. The sky gradually brightened. The gentle morning sun shone on Yi Qinghan's body, releasing a silvery white radiance. Suddenly, Medusa cried out excitedly, "He is fine. His soul in his sea of consciousness is still there. He is struggling, sister, quickly save him. His soul is still there. We just need to reform his body." Emperor Yi was so nervous that he almost could not breathe. Soon, Medusa entered Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. Yi Qinghan could not help but exhale a turbid breath. He quickly said, "Help me open the Qianquan ring. There is living soil in the ring and also in my petrified body. You can work together to revive my body." Medusa cried tears of joy. She was glad that Yi Qinghan was a freak. He was a freak. A person who had been petrified by her could actually still be alive. Medusa and Yi Qinghan conversed for a while before she withdrew her divine senses from his sea of consciousness. She tried to control the Qianquan ring again and wasted another day. However, her efforts were not in vain. She finally obtained the living soil. There was still a small amount of living soil left. Medusa desperately sent the living soil into Yi Qinghan's body. Bit by bit, it stimulated the petrified living soil. The stone sculpture constantly recovered and blood began to flow. Soon, the petrified skin was removed and slowly extended to his organs and head. Yi Qinghan's divine senses finally squeezed out of his sea of consciousness and took control of his body. The living soil spread throughout his body and his petrified flesh rapidly recovered. Cough, cough, Yi Qinghan exhaled a turbid breath. His face was pale and his essence energy was greatly damaged. He then fell into a deep sleep. Medusa's expression finally looked better. She felt guilty and brought Yi Qinghan back to his room. She slowly left the room and said to Emperor Yi with a sad expression, "I'm sorry, my son. It's all my fault, it's fine, it's fine. Master is blessed by the heavens. He survived last time and will definitely be fine this time. Sister, you were able to overcome your inner demons. This is something to be happy about." Emperor Ye's face gradually regained its color. He did not want to blame Medusa. "You are all very good. Thank you for helping me overcome everything. I will no longer have any obstacles in my heart and will no longer kill people. Sister will leave now. I will take the 3 people in the forbidden area with me. There should be no one on this plane that will harm you," said Medusa gently. "Sister, you are leaving. Isn't it good to stay?" Emperor Yi was surprised. He did not understand why Medusa wanted to leave. "Fool, what will I do if I stay? Watch the 2 of you be lovey-dovey. Or compete with sister for favor. As your sister, how can I compete with you for a man?" Medusa pretended to be relaxed and revealed a gorgeous smile. "What's mine is sister's. What's there to compete for? Sister, stay. I will share him with you. Besides you, I will not agree to anyone else." Emperor Yi held Medusa back. He did not want her to wander alone. Chapter 443. Owl War Star, by the shore. The wind blew her skirt, and her black and white hair intertwined. Her peerless figure was one with heaven and earth. Emperor Yi tried his best to persuade Medusa to stay. He did not want her to leave alone. "Sister, even if you want to leave, you have to wait until Master wakes up, right?" Emperor Yi pulled Medusa and said gently. "You are really stupid. Fortunately, you met your master, Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, I really would have taken you away. Medusa shook her head and sighed. She slowly turned around and patted Emperor Ye's head. Even if you are willing to share, as an elder sister, how can I snatch from my younger sister? How can I face you? What's wrong with that? Don't you like master? Emperor Yi asked with a frown. This kind of man, even if he is not extinct, there are not many left. Who wouldn't like him? If not for you, I would have taken the initiative to snatch him away. But he is yours, so I will retreat. Medusa smiled. Although she looked very pure and young, her intelligence was far better than Emperor Ye's or the other women's. Every time she evolved, she would learn to curry favor with others. She would curry favor with everyone she saw and would not dare to show the slightest disrespect. She understood everyone. Humph, can you bear to leave us? I already said I don't mind. Emperor Yi snorted and pretended to be angry. Because I don't want to take anything from you, including him. Medusa shook her head and said dotingly, silly, I like him, but I love you more. I don't want you to be sad. I will leave now. If fate wills it, we will meet again in the Middle Realm. We will talk about this then. Tell Yi Qinghan that if he dares to betray you, I will break every bone in his body. No. Are you really not willing to stay at all? Who will protect you the next time you evolve? Emperor Yi asked worriedly. Besides, the people in the Middle Realm hate you so much. I don't want you to go back alone. Medusa smiled faintly and said indifferently, there's still plenty of time to evolve once every 100,000 years. I'm not willing to stay. On one hand, I don't want to hurt you. On the other hand, I don't want to accept Yi Qinghan's sympathy. He's a person with overflowing compassion. Otherwise, he would have killed me long ago. As for the people from the Middle Plane, other than those who have lived for 1,000,000 years, I don't care about the others. I can feel that he really likes you. Can't you feel it these days? The way he looks at you is not as simple as sympathy. Moreover, you won't hurt me if you stay. I'm very happy. Otherwise, why would I advise you like this? I would have taken the initiative to chase you away. Emperor Yi pouted. Medusa smiled. She smiled very happily. This was the first time in 1,000,000 years that she smiled so happily. It's good to know you. Perhaps I should thank that cripple for sending you to my side. Sister is leaving. Whoosh. Medusa left decisively, only leaving behind her back. She was so lonely, weak, and pitiful. Yet, she was as proud as a willow tree. She left without looking back. In the forbidden area, Medusa descended. Lin Chenfeng's expression changed greatly. You've evolved successfully. Yi Qinghan actually didn't kill you. Lin Chenfeng was alert. He woke up the two experts beside him and did not dare to relax. I've disappointed you. Medusa said indifferently. Cough cough. How can that be? Since you've evolved successfully, we can definitely return to the Middle Realm if we join forces. Lin Chenfeng said excitedly. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? Actually, I can return alone. Medusa's aura turned cold as she said disdainfully. Fellow, you didn't destroy the endless plane. This means that your heart has softened. You've already fallen in love with Yi Qinghan. Do you think that if you attack us, there will be anyone left in the endless plane who will survive? Lin Chenfeng said confidently. They're just ants. I didn't kill them because I'm grateful. Now that I'm leaving, we'll be even. Medusa said softly. She restrained her emotions and became emotionless. Now, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had become her weak spots. If outsiders knew about Medusa, they would no longer feel despair. The endless plane would no longer be safe. Experts could descend at any time. Lin Chenfeng sneered and stopped provoking Medusa. He brought her deeper and deeper into the endless planes of existence. The further they went, the more they disappeared into the endless planes. Owl War Star. Yi Qinghan opened his eyes. He realized that after experiencing a death tribulation, he had actually stepped into the pseudo-emperor realm. His combat strength had increased countless times. In an instant, his understanding of the Great Tao's laws and origin had reached a limit. The battle character secret art had entered the 6th stage, the saint character secret art. Hu, Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He saw Emperor Yi sitting by the bed. However, Medusa's aura was gone. He immediately asked in surprise, "Where's Medusa?" Big Sister returned to the middle plane. She didn't want to stay. Emperor Yi said sadly. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but feel sour. He didn't expect Medusa to leave so heartlessly. She didn't even say goodbye. Did she say anything before she left? Yi Qinghan asked hoarsely. She said that if fate brought us together, we should meet in the middle plane. She might stay with us. Emperor Yi said sadly. Yi Qinghan was slightly startled. He seemed to understand Medusa's intentions. She didn't want to follow them because she didn't want to implicate them in the middle plane's enmity. He might be very powerful now, but in the middle plane, he was nothing. He had become her weakness. She only left to protect them. Yi Qinghan revealed a bitter smile. He had once protected his family like this. He didn't expect that he would be protected like this today. Anything else? Yi Qinghan asked in a low voice. Big Sister said, "If you dare to betray me, she will break all your bones." Hee hee. Emperor Yi covered his mouth and laughed. Cough, cough, Yi Qinghan felt awkward. He thought of Ming Ke, and didn't know what to do. I'll stabilize my pseudo-emperor realm first. Then, I'll go out and take a look. The divine bird and the rainbow snake have been gone for so long. They haven't returned. Something must have happened. Yi Qinghan frowned. Corpses and bones were everywhere on the Milky Way road. Golden blood flew everywhere. No one knew if they could make it to the next stop alive. The death of a super expert was a common occurrence. Other than the few people from the Kuang sect who would leave some leeway for each other when they met, everyone else would fight to the death. If one wanted to take a step forward, they would have to step on a person's corpse. No one would be merciful. In the 10th year of the Milky Way road's opening, Yi Qinghan had actually spent 10 years in seclusion. Now, the strongest people on the Milky Way road were Xia Ziluo, Gu Qingyu, Nie Tian, Zi Tian, Shi Gu, and the others from the Kuang sect. There were also Lin Wutian, Stan Wuxia, and the others. Zai Ken was now looking down on all living things. He was the most qualified existence on the Milky Way road. He was ruthless and gradually approached the ancestral land of the sorcerer tribe. No one expected that the star of the sorcerer tribe's ancestral land was on the Milky Way road. In the past 10 years, the crazy sect had suffered heavy losses. Yi Qinghan's disciple, the Purple Iron Wolf, had died in the 4th year of the Milky Way road's opening. Not even his bones remained. In the 5th year, the Purple Iron Wolf had been besieged, causing a violent snowstorm. The crazy sect was furious and killed all the cultivators who had participated in that battle. Since then, no one had dared to besiege the crazy sect on the Milky Way road. In the 8th year of the Milky Way road, the outer elders of the Kuang sect suffered heavy losses. In the end, Gu Qingyu ordered all the people of the Kuang sect with average battle strength to withdraw from the Milky Way road to preserve some of their bloodline. The Kuang sect was strong and there were too many people who were qualified to fight for the qualification. It attracted the hostility of most of the experts in the endless plains. Many people began to stare at Gu Qingyu and the others. Once there was a chance, they would not care about morality and directly kill without mercy. Now, the hunter would shoot the bird that stuck out. Whoever was stronger would be killed. Even a madman like Xian Yain was attacked several times, but he fought back fiercely and killed countless people. The parrot and the colorful snake wanted to leave but did not have the chance. The madman would draw his sword whenever he saw the parrot trying to leave. The parrot, who was so afraid of death, gave up in the end and waited for Yi Qinghan to save them. In the 10th year of Yi Qinghan's closed-door training, an invincible new super-existence entered the ancestral land of the sorcerer tribe from the west of the Milky Way Road and defeated dozens of sorcerer tribe experts, including Ku Luo and the others. In the end, he even killed a sorcerer elder before disappearing without a trace. Ming Ke heard the news and came out of seclusion. She walked out of the tribe with Hu Hua, and the god-slaying eagle guarded them. In the past few years, Ming Ke and Mad Tiger had improved very quickly. They focused on body tempering, the battle formula, and wind mark. They did not cultivate any other secret arts, which made them very precise and powerful in controlling these two secret arts. Whoosh, a terrifying figure flashed across the ancestral planet and rushed into the depths of the planet at extreme speed. Chase! This guy killed so many of my people. How dare he? Ming Ke was furious. She rushed into the depths with the god-slaying shaman spear in her hand. The monarch weapon was awakened, and the spear tore through the river and pierced into the depths. Humph! With a grunt, the peerless expert swung his sword back. It was as fast as lightning, and the angle was strange. It passed by the side of the shaman spear, broke through the defense of the monarch light, and went for Ming Ke. Screech! The god-slaying eagle showed its true form, and its wings covered the sky as it swooped down at the expert. Mad Tiger also activated his shaman amulet and punched at the sword aura. Screech! The sword aura trembled and split into three, stabbing at the three experts. Seal! Whoosh! Wind mark was used, and its speed was unparalleled. Its afterimage covered the sky and sealed the space. Boom! The three sword auras were very fast, but the expert was even faster. He returned from the depths and controlled the sword aura to stab at the three experts. Poochie! The sword aura pierced through the wings of the god-slaying eagle and destroyed Hu Hua's shaman amulet. Blood spurted out. Screech! The god-slaying eagle screamed. It did not expect the opponent to be so powerful. His attack was so sharp that it was as terrifying as Yi Qinghan. Run! The god-slaying eagle fell into the distance and signaled Ming Ke to run. However, Ming Ke did not have time to run. The spear pierced through the opponent's side, and half of his face appeared in her eyes. She was filled with despair. The sword aura pierced her eyes, and she lost consciousness. Screech! Roar! The god-slaying eagle and Hu Hua were furious. Flames burned the sky and drowned the battlefield. The expert looked at the shaman spear beside him and did not take it. He turned and left. Chapter 444. On Owl War Star, Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank, and he suddenly opened his eyes. A bright light pierced through the void. He clenched his fists tightly, and the killing intent of the five elements burst forth. Emperor Yi was awakened from his seclusion. Sensing Yi Qinghan's killing intent, he hurriedly asked, "Master, what's wrong?" "I don't know." "We've entered the world," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Screech Emperor Ye's spiritual pet, the god-slaying eagle, let out a shrill cry, as if expressing its grief and anger. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The god-slaying eagle became Yi Qinghan's burden. It could not catch up to Yi Qinghan's speed. In the end, he directly swept Emperor Yi away and headed straight for the imperial domain. There were no more experts in the imperial domain now. Moreover, the auras of the divine bird and the multicolored snake were no longer there. With the contract as a guide, Yi Qinghan could roughly determine their direction. He then rushed day and night in the direction of the Star River Road. The Star River Road was merciless, and thousands of miles of corpses were withered. Existences who were at their peak yesterday might have died tragically today. Eh. I can sense Master's aura. This fellow is really lucky. Last time, I clearly couldn't sense his soul, but he actually survived. TSK, to be able to survive the wrath of Medusa, he's definitely the first person in a million years. The parrot looked at the multicolored snake and teased. Hiss hiss hiss, the multicolored snake was also somewhat excited. Recently, it had been suppressed by Xian Yain and could not escape at all. It had several chances to escape, but because of the parrot's burden, it had no choice but to stay. This bastard, he's finally willing to come out after staying in his home of tenderness. After missing 10 years of glory, the world should have long forgotten about him, the parrot said indignantly. Yes, these 10 years were the most glorious time of the endless plains. Quasi-emperors were like bamboo shoots after a rain, and large numbers of experts were born. Then, large numbers of experts fell. People who stepped on corpses walked to the peak. No one could push them all the way. Rising powerhouses wanted to prove their Tao, so they had to frantically go on expeditions. The deeper they went on the celestial river path, the more they could no longer turn back. Either they reached the end of the path to prove their Tao, or they perished on the celestial river path without even leaving behind a corpse. The celestial river path was just that cruel, so it had been sealed off for many years. There was no news of Yi Qinghan on the Star River path. The heroes had long forgotten about him. Many experts were still looking for Yi Qinghan, wanting to step on his corpse to become famous. However, Yi Qinghan did not come out, so they could only target some of the elders of Insane School. The pressure on Insane School multiplied and they suffered heavy casualties. Halfway through the Milky Way Road, Stan Wuxia was invincible. The golden bloodline was definitely worthy of its reputation. When Yi Qinghan was not around, he represented Yi Qinghan in battle. He was injured countless times, but the more he fought, the stronger he became. Now, his battle strength was not inferior to the top experts of the older generation. As for proving his Tao, he only needed a little bit of consolidation. You're Yi Qinghan's disciple. Golden bloodline Stan Wuxia. A peerless girl in armor and holding a spear asked in a serious tone. Her blood-red clothes fluttered in the wind as she looked at Stan Wuxia calmly. Stan Wuxia stood proudly, his royal aura spreading out as he looked down on everyone. In the face of such a top-class expert, his heart was as still as water, without a trace of emotion. He nodded and said, "Yes. I'm Chaos Moon. Fight with me. I want to see if Insane School is really as exaggerated as the legends say." Chaos Moon's battle intent rose as she rushed toward the dome. "I never hit women. Go away." Stan Wuxia sneered and said disdainfully. "You're courting death." Whoosh! Chaos Moon was furious. Her spear pierced through the sky and charged toward Stan Wuxia. Stan Wuxia's lips curled up. In his life, he was only afraid of one woman and respected two. He was most afraid of Emperor Yi, respected Jian Qinxue, and Xia Ziluo. As for the others, he really did not take them seriously. He looked up at the Chaos Moon spear that was as fast as lightning. His eyes narrowed into a line as he grabbed the spear with his hand. Boom! 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 Heaven and earth collapsed, and the Milky Way was in chaos. The spear pierced through the Milky Way, attracting a large number of experts to watch from afar. That's Stan Wuxia. I heard he's Yi Qinghan's eldest disciple. He's very strong. He actually dared to grab Chaos Moon's attack. He's just courting death. Whoosh! 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 The spear split the void and was directly grabbed by Stan Wuxia. However, it was not easy for Stan Wuxia. He retreated dozens of miles before stopping. His blood and chi were boiling, and his battle intent rose. Chaos Moon was dumbfounded. Everyone was dumbfounded. They did not expect a top-class expert's attack to be caught by someone. Stan Wuxia was indifferent. He did not have the intention to kill. He just threw the spear back and turned to leave. Chaos Moon caught her natal divine weapon and chased after him. Boom! A figure flashed in front and blocked Stan Wuxia's path. His face was like jade, and the 3-foot cold sword in his hand could freeze thousands of miles. This person was easy to recognize, and the sword in his hand was even easier to recognize. The person and the sword were both cold Yi Shui. Their physiques were unknown, a bit like Jian Qinshue's scarlet snow physique. Wherever they passed, even souls would be frozen. Golden bloodline. I want to see if the golden bloodline can suppress all physiques. Cold Yi Shui did not draw his sword. His body was like a divine sword. Cold air rushed into the sky and froze thousands of miles. He stood in front of Stan Wuxia like an ice sword. He was crystal clear and very dazzling. It was so dazzling that people could not open their eyes. Many people looked from afar, and some approached. They drew their swords and hid in a different space, waiting for an opportunity to kill Stan Wuxia and erase the person who had the potential to prove his Tao. Stan Wuxia's blood and qi erupted. Golden battle qi wrapped around him to resist the cold air. His aura then rushed toward Yi Shui. Their physiques were natural enemies. They restrained each other. One used his blood and qi to suppress his opponent, while the other used his cold air to freeze his blood and qi. Although they had not attacked, danger lurked everywhere. A great battle could erupt at any time. Stan Wuxia looked around and found that many people were rushing toward him. Their killing intent could not be concealed. Yi Shui was very strong. Even if he could defeat him, he would be severely injured. It would be very difficult for him to escape from the others. Yi Shui was not stupid. At this time, both he and Stan Wuxia would be injured. Even if he could defeat Stan Wuxia, he would be killed. They only wanted to prove their Tao on the Milky Way road. They did not care about sneak attacks. There was also a group of people who were followers of some terrifying existences. They only wanted to clear the obstacles for their masters. Let's go deeper. Find a quiet place to fight. Yi Shui moved his sword sheath and said in a low voice. Okay. Stan Wuxia was the first to leave. The stars moved and he shattered the void. On a certain star in the Milky Way, a beam of immortal light rushed into the sky. A strange treasure had appeared and attracted a large group of experts. Shi Gu and Jin Yan rushed over with little Jiao. Over the years, with the support of the Emperor bloodline, their battle prowess had surpassed the two of them. However, they were still very dependent on Jin Yan. They kept calling her mother, which drove Jin Yan crazy. The three of them could be considered a family of three. When the three of them worked together, even Yi Qinghan had to retreat. At this moment, they descended on the star and looked at the immortal light in the distance. They found that many super existences were tearing through the void and coming over with killing intent. The treasures on the Milky Way road were all existences that could help experts prove their Tao. Now, a treasure that could emit such a powerful immortal light was absolutely rare. Gu Qingyu came. Nie Tian quietly appeared with his huge axe and hid, waiting for an opportunity. Zi Tian was wearing purple clothes and looked like a handsome young master. At this moment, his face was serious. His blood was boiling and roaring. He was only a step away from completely returning to his ancestral roots and proving the supreme Tao. Zi Tian looked at the immortal light and said hoarsely, "There is the essence blood of my Qilin race here." Zai Kan rushed over from the front. He stepped into the immortal light and found that it was seven-colored. He could not see what was inside at all. He reached out to touch it, but he was pushed away by a powerful aura and could not get close. Immortals. Everyone was shocked. More and more experts were gathering on the star. If they were not careful, the endless universe's elites would suffer great losses. Xia Ziluo's purple clothes were unfortunately dyed red by blood. Looking at the dancing immortal light, it seemed like there were spirits jumping in the depths. It also seemed like there was a terrifying monster hidden inside. A wisp of her soul trembled and triggered the sky dragon's sacred blood gene in her body. Her pupils shrank. Sky Dragon Sacred Dynasty. Since the Xia family used the name of Sky Dragon to establish the dynasty, there must be a reason. Many people had forgotten that the Xia family had the Sky Dragon Sacred Blood gene. It was just that it was too rare and could not be activated. However, Xia Ziluo knew that Xia Qiyu had a lot of Sky Dragon Sacred Blood gene in her body. She just lacked some opportunities and could not activate it. Now, the opportunity had come. Once the sacred blood gene in Xia Qiyue's body was activated, she would definitely prove her Tao in the most powerful state. No one could stop her. Xia Ziluo formed a seal with her palms and created a virtual mirror. Xia Qiyue's figure appeared on the mirror. She said in a low voice, "Brother, where are you?" Xia Qiyue was very smart. Unfortunately, her body was not as good as her sister's, so she did not enter the Milky Way road. She just wanted to build the endless dynasty. She did not expect Xia Ziluo to contact her at this time. "I'm in the Imperial domain. What's wrong?" Xia Qiyue asked curiously. "Go find Yi Qinghan quickly. Your chance to prove your Tao is here. Let him take you to the center of the Star River Road. Be quick." Xia Ziluo said hurriedly. "What's wrong? Have you found a way to activate the sacred blood gene in my body?" Xia Qiyue asked excitedly. "Yes. But there are too many strong people here. I'm not confident. I can only ask him to help. Otherwise, the people of the insane sect won't be able to suppress so many strong people," Xia Ziluo said solemnly. Xia Qiyue's eyes flashed. She suddenly stood up and used the Endless Dynasty's intelligence network. She instantly sent out the news to find Yi Qinghan's traces. Soon, the Endless Dynasty's intelligence network became active and found Yi Qinghan's traces. At this moment, he and Emperor Yi were rushing from the Imperial domain to the Star River Road. They had not flown far when they were stopped by strong people. "Mr. Yi, I, Emperor Xia Qiyue, have an urgent matter to ask for your help." He said the sooner the better. If he misses it, he will regret it for the rest of his life. An old man stood respectfully in the void, not daring to be disrespectful. Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched. He flew to the Imperial domain and arrived outside the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty. Xia Qiyue had been waiting for a long time. "Please help me prove my Tao, Mr." Xia Qiyue bowed and said. "How can you say, please, between brothers? If you have something to say, just say it." Yi Qinghan was conceited and confident. Even if a great emperor appeared in the endless plains, he could tear apart the heavenly Tao and reach the top. He would not stop anyone from the insane sect from proving their Tao. He would only help. Xia Qiyue was the same. "Just now, my sister sent me a message. The heavenly dragon's sacred blood has appeared on the Star River Road. It can activate the sacred blood gene in my body. But there are too many strong people on the Star River Road. My sister is not absolutely sure if she can get it, so I have to ask for your help, Mr." Xia Qiyue said helplessly. Star River Road. Yi Qinghan was surprised. He knew this name, but he didn't expect it to be opened. "Since the Star River Road is open, I will bring Uncle Wen with me to gain experience." Yi Qinghan was indifferent. He stretched his hand toward the insane sect, which was countless miles away. He tore apart the insane sect's protective array and grabbed Uncle Wen. When Uncle Wen saw Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, he was overjoyed. He bowed and said, "Master, senior sister, senior brothers, martial uncles and martial uncles have all gone to the Star River Road. They are afraid that I will be in danger, so they didn't bring me." Yi Qinghan smiled. Uncle Wen was only in his 20s. Compared to the strong people who had cultivated for countless years, he was like a baby. If he wanted to soar into the sky in a short time, he would need to experience life and death. Master will take you there. Yi Qinghan took the 3 people around him and soared into the sky. The stars moved and they went straight to the Star River Road. Chapter 445. On the Star River path, immortal light paved the way. The young quasi-emperors were full of vigor and suppressed the older generation. Even emperors couldn't suppress them. If they gave them face, they would. If they didn't, Di Shang couldn't do anything to them. If they killed one, a group of experts would attack them. Di Longtian wore a golden battle robe. He had the demeanor of a father now that he had grown up. His aura was a bit like Yi Qinghan's. When he was restrained, he was like an ordinary person. When he exploded, he was even crazier than the heavens. At this moment, this star filled with immortal light was full of experts. No one was willing to submit to another. If there was a disagreement, they would fight. Because the Kuang sect had the advantage in numbers, many people were targeting them. Gu Qingyu and the others didn't get close. They just gathered people and stood in the distance, waiting for an opportunity. They didn't want to get involved, but others didn't want them to. The Kuang sect has the advantage in numbers. No matter how strong we are individually, we won't be a match for them until the final moment. Fellow cultivators, can't you see the situation? A powerful youth said coldly. It's been 10 years. Where's Yi Qinghan's shadow on the Star River path? He was too brilliant in the early stages and didn't dare to appear because he didn't have the ability to surpass them. Why don't we clean up the Kuang sect first? Then we'll decide who to prove our Tao. Everyone discussed spiritedly. There were too many people who rose up now. Many people didn't understand how many people had sacrificed in the bitter war back then for the endless plains. In their eyes, there was only proving their Tao and no respect. You're courting death. Qitian Monkey King broke the head of an expert and stomped over forcefully. Whoosh, Zaikan pressed forward with his sword. He stood at the front. His clothes fluttered as he calmly looked at the older generation. Everyone, long time no see. Zaikan said calmly. The eyes of the Kuang sect's people were burning. They looked at Zaikan with murderous intent. Especially Shi Gu, his eyes were burning. Roar. Gu Qingyu moved the Tianwu battle sword and approached Zaikan. He said seriously, how far have you cultivated the path of martial arts? Great success realm. I am just a little bit away from proving my way. Once I kill Yi Qinghan, I will be able to prove my way, Zaikan replied calmly. The Tao of remnant martial and the Tao of divine martial could only exist in each era. Zhikan treated Yi Qinghan as his opponent, but Yi Qinghan did not treat Zhikan as his opponent. In this era, if Zhikan wanted to prove his Tao, he had to overcome Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, his Tao heart would not allow him to prove his Tao. Kill Yi Qinghan. I'm afraid the two of you are no longer on the same level, Gu Qingyu replied indifferently. I think so too. Ding. The golden dragon dagger pierced through the void. Its speed was unrivaled as it directly attacked Gu Qingyu. Ding. Gu Qingyu also took action. The celestial martial sword slashed through space and time. It was cold and lonely as if there was only this sword in the sky, nothing else. All the Taos in the world are incomplete in my eyes. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The sword light seized the soul. The two directly clashed. Many people finally understood that this was the true prowess of proving one's Tao. Some people's Tao heart directly collapsed from fright. They were sent flying while coughing blood. The sword light on the stars tore through the void. The multicolored brilliance was boundless, comparable to immortal light. There were afterimages everywhere. Many people couldn't catch the two's traces. Even their divine intents couldn't keep up. The two of them moved back and forth. Every single sword strike of theirs contained a supreme sword Tao. Attack, defense, strange sword strikes, and it was filled with danger. The slightest carelessness would cause one to perish. Jikan's progress in these years was too great. He was strong enough to fight against Gu Qingyu. Even with the celestial martial sword in his hand, Gu Qingyu still couldn't suppress him. Jikan was fearless. Even in this situation, he wasn't afraid of being heavily injured or being used by others. He was confident that Gu Qingyu couldn't hurt him. Even if the insane school teamed up, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him. The insane school's people were very vigilant. They were wary of the group of heroes. These people were eyeing them covetously. They wanted to destroy the insane school at all times. Now that one of them was the strongest, they had no choice. The ruined school disappeared in the long river of history. Now, everyone had forgotten about the ruined school. However, there was one person who, regardless of whether the world forgot or not, would stand proudly in the blue dome of heaven. That was Ken Yang, the ruined school's eldest senior brother. He only appeared in that battle before disappearing. Now, he was watching the battlefield from a distance. He didn't take action because he didn't want to reveal his identity. Boom! The sword energy collided, waking everyone up. Gu Qingyu and Jikan separated. Each of them had a sword wound. They were evenly matched. Jikan frowned. Gu Qingyu was also astonished. He didn't expect the other party to grow so quickly. Just as they were about to draw their swords, Xian Yain brought the parrot and the multicolored snake. Everyone was dumbstruck. They couldn't help but be shocked by the parrot's terrifying intelligence. This madman couldn't even get close to the divine watchtower. The parrot was sitting on his shoulder. The madman actually didn't kill it. The multicolored snake wrapped around Xian Yain's waist. It didn't want to attack him. Perhaps after 10 years of fighting, it had developed feelings for him. Xian Yain wasn't someone who would willfully kill innocent people. He just didn't allow people to get close. Many people retreated. There was no need to bicker with a madman. There was no benefit in winning. If they lost, they would die. Peerless immortal treasure. Ha ha ha, this divine bird is rich. The parrot looked arrogant. It looked at the immortal light in front of it and suddenly shouted. Whoosh, the parrot was confident that it could pass through all energy barriers. It rushed toward the immortal light without hesitation. However, as soon as it got close, it seemed to have hit a rock. Immediately, its head was broken and blood flowed. Oh my God, what kind of barrier is this? The parrot fell to the ground. It was dizzy and couldn't tell where it was going. Boom! Xian Yain hacked at the immortal light with his sword. The energy split the earth and swept through everything. It was as if it wanted to split heaven and earth apart. However, it didn't split open the immortal light barrier. He was sent flying by the rebound force, coughing up blood. Immortal treasure. Xian Yain muttered. He approached the immortal light again and erupted with all his power to hack at it. However, he was sent flying again, his injuries worsening. Everyone was silent. They retreated further and further away. No one stopped Xian Yain from going crazy. They wanted nothing more than for him to die on the barrier. Wait. Little Xuanzi, you can't attack this thing. We need to find a way to enter. The parrot hurriedly stopped him. It didn't want Xian Yain to be seriously injured and instead benefit others. For the first time, Xian Yain stopped attacking and calmly looked at the parrot. Everyone was shocked. The parrot didn't care about species when it tricked others. Even a madman could be tricked. The parrot sped around the immortal light. It discovered that the immortal light covered an extremely large area. This dead star was even larger than the imperial domain. It flew for a long time, but still couldn't circle around the immortal light. Screech! A mournful angry roar resounded through the heavenly river. An enormous pair of wings that covered the sky returned from the depths. A mouthful of flames burned the star, startling everyone. It's Yi Qinghan's god-slaying eagle. Has Yi Qinghan returned? Everyone asked in shock. There is indeed someone on the god-slaying eagle. There's even someone chasing in front. Everyone's pupils shrank as they discussed spiritedly. However, the Kuang sect's people frowned. The person on the god-slaying eagle definitely wasn't Yi Qinghan. Sure enough, that expert stepped into the center of the battlefield. He didn't pay attention to the god-slaying eagle and Wuxia that were speeding over from behind. He directly entered the immortal light, stunning everyone. How did he get in? Zhe Kan's eyes flashed. His large hand touched the immortal light. He discovered that although it was gentle, it was stronger against strong opponents. He couldn't force his way in at all. Everyone didn't have time to react. The god-slaying eagle and Wuxia rushed over from behind and crashed into the barrier. They were forcefully pushed back several hundred zhang and fell towards where Gu Qingyu was. Wuxia was shocked. He turned around and attacked Gu Qingyu with his spear. He was afraid that he would launch a surprise attack. Gu Qingyu frowned. He recognized the god-slaying eagle and didn't kill him. He reached out and grabbed Wuxia's spear. He said in a low voice, "God-slaying eagle, why are you here? Where's your master?" Cough cough. The god-slaying eagle fell to the ground and transformed into a human. He coughed up blood and said quickly, "Didn't master come back long ago? Where is he? Xiaonu is useless. The person I was protecting is dead." "Who were you protecting? Who died?" The Kuang sect's people were furious. They asked angrily. "Wu Wu. Master wanted me to protect her. I couldn't protect her. She was killed by that bad guy just now." The god-slaying eagle cried bitterly. He felt that he had no face to face Yi Qinghan. Gu Qingyu let go of the spear. Wuxia retreated and looked at everyone vigilantly. He realized that there weren't many experts in the sorcerer's ancestral land. This was the real gathering of elites. Just when everyone was silent, the god-slaying eagle suddenly transmitted his voice to the Kuang sect's people. He said, "I know what this barrier is. It's called the Dao Heart Realm. Only those who have the Dao Heart can enter the barrier. Only those who have a strong Dao Heart can enter the barrier. It's a huge space and extremely dangerous. There are countless ancient beasts. It's the cruelest training ground. But there's definitely a lot of rare treasures and divine medicines inside. Those who can walk out of the Dao Heart Realm can definitely prove their Dao. If they can't, they'll definitely die." Gu Qingyu and the others looked at each other. They wanted to enter the Dao Heart Realm but were stopped by Xia Ziluo. "Everyone, please wait for a moment. Brother Yi will be here soon." Xia Ziluo said quickly. "You've contacted him?" Gu Qingyu frowned and asked. "Yes. Big brother just sent a message. He's already met up with brother Yi." Xia Ziluo sighed. He knew that the Dao Heart Realm had a treasure that he and Xia Qiue urgently needed. Once Yi Qinghan arrived, it would be a success. The parrot wasn't the only one who knew about the Dao Heart Realm. Many ancient families knew about it. As time passed, more and more people discovered the secret of the barrier. Kanyang suddenly appeared and whispered something to Zhe Kan. The two charged into the immortal light and disappeared without a trace. Whoosh 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 dot whoosh 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 dot. In an instant, at least 30 experts entered the Dao Heart Realm. Many people didn't understand the key to entering the barrier and directly sealed the Dao Heart Realm. If you want to enter the Dao Heart Realm, you have to announce the method to enter the Dao Heart Realm. Otherwise, no one will be able to enter from now on. The experts were furious. They didn't have enough foundation and couldn't be compared to the true grand families. This is the Dao Heart Realm. Only those with a strong Tao heart can enter. Even if I announce the method, half of the people can't enter. A young man in strange clothes appeared and forcefully broke through the expert's defenses. He charged into the Tao heart realm. At that moment, the experts were in chaos. Yi Qinghan brought Emperor Yi, Xia Qiyue, and Uncle Wen here. They missed the opportunity to meet up with the experts and could only fight in the Tao heart realm. Chapter 446. Outside the Tao heart world, Yi Qinghan watched as the god-slaying eagle cried like a baby. He did not speak for a long time. The people of the Kuang sect did not say anything either. They could roughly guess what had happened, but they could not guess the process. Follow me in. Yi Qinghan brought Uncle Wen into the Tao heart world. Who was stronger than Yi Qinghan when it came to the heart of Tao? Uncle Wen was the son of a great emperor. There was no need to say more. Swish. The two of them disappeared in a flash and entered the barrier. Ren Huangyi followed closely behind. The people of the Kuang sect who could survive until now were all exceptional people. Entering the Tao heart world was not a problem. Yi Qinghan led the way. No one dared to stop him. A group of experts stayed outside while a portion of them entered the Tao heart world. The news of Yi Qinghan's appearance exploded in the Tao heart world. Many people stayed away from the boundary and did not want to interact with Yi Qinghan. However, some people did not think so. It was just Yi Qinghan. The parrot flew towards Yi Qinghan and tried its best to joke. However, Yi Qinghan's cold face made it feel uncomfortable. Xian Yiyin attracted Yi Qinghan's attention. However, he was not in the mood to care about others. He threw Uncle Wen to Emperor Yi and said in a muffled voice, "I'm going to the depths to settle a personal matter. You bring Uncle Wen to gain experience first." With that, Yi Qinghan disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. The Tao heart world was a vast ancient star. No one knew when it had existed. It was filled with an ancient aura. Forests covered the sky. Birds flew over everyone's heads from time to time. Their sharp claws pierced out, ready to attack experts at any time. Yi Qinghan sped forward. Based on the god-slaying eagle's memory, he scanned the area. Everywhere he passed by, there was silence. It was as if a god was inspecting. No one dared to breathe. The experts did not dare to get too close. Those who knew him would respectfully address him as Mr. Yi. Those who did not know him would lower their heads and retreat. Roar! An unknown mutated beast smelled Yi Qinghan's tyrannical blood and qi, and immediately pounced over. Its fangs tore through the sky, and its sharp claws tore apart an ancient tree. Its momentum was terrifying. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and grabbed a leaf. With a flick of his finger, the leaf shattered the void and directly pierced through the strange beast's body. The mountain-like body fell with a loud rumble, crashing heavily into the ground not far in front of Yi Qinghan. The heroes watching from afar sucked in a breath of cold air. They watched in horror as Yi Qinghan calmly walked past the body of the strange beast without the slightest fluctuation of emotion. Only then did they realize that the true strength of the Emperor of the Endless Dynasty had reached the peak of perfection. The parrot smiled embarrassedly and did not dare to say anything. It had not returned for the past 10 years. Yi Qinghan must have misunderstood something. The multicolored snake had been coiled around Yi Qinghan's waist. It lowered its head in guilt and did not dare to make the slightest sound. Yi Qinghan had been following closely behind Yi Qinghan. No matter how fast Yi Qinghan was, he could not shake him off. No matter how fast Yi Qinghan was, the other party's speed would increase as well. The ancient secret technique was endless. "Tell me, who is that person behind you?" Yi Qinghan asked coldly. Cough, cough. "He is a madman. I was trapped by him for 10 years. Otherwise, I would have gone to find you long ago," the parrot quickly explained. Be more specific. 10 years is enough time for you to investigate his ancestral grave, said Yi Qinghan coldly. Hee hee. Hee hee, he's Xian Yan of the Divine Ghost sect. Over 200,000 years ago, he was a famous expert. He was only a step away from confirming his Tao, but unfortunately, he ran into the enraged Medusa. But I have to say, he's freakishly strong. He actually managed to escape Medusa's slaughter. However, his soul was severely damaged, and he killed anyone he saw. That's why the Divine Ghost sect was heavily damaged by Xian Yan. Later, when he came to his senses, he went to find Medusa for revenge. In the end, he was petrified for over 200,000 years, but he still managed to escape. Yi Qinghan's mood was gloomy. He clenched his fists and ignored Xian Yan. He projected an image of the true culprit who had killed Ming Keir and said, "Help me find this person. I want to find him as quickly as possible." The youth in the image was very young and handsome, but he was sinister and cold. Especially his eyes, he did not look like a human. He was very likely a mutated beast that had taken human form. What is that? His eyes are so sharp, the omniscient parrot asked in surprise. Hiss, the brightly colored snake flicked its forked tongue and nodded. Is it a snake-type or wolf-type mutated beast? A lightning snake or a divine wolf? The parrot was shocked. These two creatures only existed in legends and memories. It had never imagined that they actually existed. Regardless of which type it was, they were all kings of speed. Unless they voluntarily revealed themselves, very few people could catch their tracks. Yi Qinghan groaned. It was good that he knew what type of creature it was. He then increased his speed, wanting to throw Xian Yan off his tail. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, he went faster and faster. The deeper he went, the more dangerous it became. Mutated beasts constantly pounced at him. Some of the more powerful vicious beasts were not inferior to first-rate experts. But in the end, their speed was suppressed, and they still could not shake off Xian Yan. Why are you following me? Yi Qinghan turned around, frowning at Xian Yan as he coldly asked. I'm looking for her, Aura. Xian Yan harshly said. Yi Qinghan frowned. He did not know who Xian Yan was looking for. The parrot said in a low voice, he's looking for Medusa for revenge. You have her aura on you. Yi Qinghan sighed. Xian Yan was purely looking for a beating. He had been beaten into insanity and still wanted to be beaten. Of all the people he could find for revenge, he had to find Medusa for revenge. You should leave. Don't follow me. Medusa has already left this plane. Yi Qinghan shook his head. They were both pitiful people. No one could blame anyone for this. Medusa had not been rational at the time, and now Xian Yan was no longer rational. Boom! Just as Yi Qinghan and Xian Yan were talking, there was a huge explosion. A wave of energy soared into the sky, and even a mountain range in front of them was flattened. Yi Qinghan squinted his eyes and looked into the depths of the battlefield. He stepped into the battlefield and saw a giant standing there. It was even taller than a mountain and was completely made of rocks. No matter how the experts attacked, they couldn't shake its defense. Ancient Stone Man. Yi Qinghan's eyes narrowed. This was only the periphery of the Tao Heart World, and there was actually such a powerful existence. How dangerous was the Tao Heart World? Boom! The Ancient Stone Man punched an expert's body. It opened its mouth and directly swallowed him. Its speed was extremely fast and powerful. Kill! The crowd became restless, attacking from all directions, smashing into the stone giant's body. Sparks flew in all directions, but the stones on its body were like emperor weapons, deflecting all of the attacks. These attacks couldn't harm it at all, only angering it. Tseng, 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 the ancient stone man took a few steps back and looked down at the experts. It opened its sky-covering hand and grabbed at an expert. In an instant, the attack range reached 1,000 miles. The expert did not have time to escape and was directly grabbed and swallowed by the stone man. A tragic cry resounded through the mountains and rivers. The experts were sent flying and looked at the ancient stone man in shock. This kind of creature was extremely rare. It was born and nurtured by the heavens and was extremely powerful. Wherever it went, there would be supreme treasures. The appearance of the stone man here meant that there was a peerless treasure nearby. The experts approached and infuriated the stone man, causing it to chase after them. However, it did not leave the mountain behind it. Before Yi Qinghan could get close, the stone man actually attacked him. A fist broke through the void and smashed towards him. Yi Qinghan frowned. He waved his hand and attacked the stone man. A giant palm print split the heaven and earth and blocked the stone man's fist. He was forced back a few steps. His chi and blood were in turmoil. However, the stone man was sent flying. Stone fragments flew everywhere and broke through the mountain. Everyone took in a breath of cold air. They were overjoyed when they saw Yi Qinghan's black hair fluttering in the wind as he pushed the ancient stone man away. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He did not expect the ancient stone man to be so strong. He used 80% of his strength and only sent it flying. Moreover, he was forced back a few steps. Roar! The stone man stood at the side of the mountain and roared. It looked at Yi Qinghan cautiously but did not dare to attack without permission. Boom! Yi Qinghan stepped towards the mountain. He wanted to see what kind of treasure the stone man was guarding. However, the stone man glared at Yi Qinghan fiercely and stood guard in front of the mountain, not allowing Yi Qinghan to get close. Rise! Yi Qinghan waved his hand. The ground rolled up and formed a giant battle dragon. It opened its fangs and bit at the stone man. Boom! The ancient stone man waved its fist and smashed it at the battle dragon. Its fist hit the dragon's head but the dragon's tail hit its body and sent it flying. The earth dragon collapsed and the stone man was sent flying. However, Yi Qinghan's second attack arrived. Wood! Hum! The wood dragon soared into the sky and countless trees interweaved. The branches were like sharp swords and turned into a sword dragon that swept towards the ancient stone man. Kacha! Boom boom! The stone man's body was no longer invincible. It was pierced by the sword dragon and screamed in pain as it was forced into the distance. Yi Qinghan was getting closer to the mountain. The parrot also began to get excited. Could it be an immortal medicine? It smells so good. The parrot said excitedly. The stone man was furious. It was unwilling to let the divine medicine it had guarded for so many years become a gift to someone else. It charged at Yi Qinghan without any regard for its life. Yi Qinghan shook his head and sighed. His figure transformed into 100,000 feet tall as he raised his hand and pressed down on the stone man. 5 elements Tao, suppress. The 5 dragons coiled in his palm and appeared out of thin air. They were even bigger than the ancient stone man and pressed down on its head. No matter how the ancient stone man struggled, it could not break free from Yi Qinghan's restraint. It was pressed to the ground and knelt. Everyone was shocked. This was the strength of the Endless Dynasty's emperor. Many people did not experience that era and did not understand how powerful Yi Qinghan was. Now that they saw it with their own eyes, they understood what it meant to be a Tao affirmation. Roar! The ancient stone man twisted its body and wanted to stand up. However, Yi Qinghan's will was like the heavens. It could not resist. Kacha! The ancient stone man's leg bones broke and it knelt in front of Yi Qinghan. Unreconciled humiliation surged in its heart. Its fangs were still stained with the expert's blood. Kill it! Kill it! This is a foreign race. It deserves to die. Everyone roared, roaring in anger. Yi Qinghan turned around and looked at everyone coldly. The terrifying will in his eyes and his supreme aura caused everyone to retreat. Their faces were pale. Only then did they realize that they had said the wrong thing. They were facing the king of the endless dynasty. How could a supreme existence allow them to give such unscrupulous orders? Chapter 447. The ancient stoneman struggled for a while before sensing Yi Qinghan's terrifying will. It didn't dare to move anymore. Go. Everything has a spirit, and the stoneman should have one too, Yi Qinghan said hoarsely. The stoneman thought it was dead for sure, but it didn't expect Yi Qinghan to only suppress it and not kill it. It couldn't help but be stunned. Yi Qinghan walked towards the tall mountain. His lonely back view made everyone's nose ache. It was as if they could see the cycle of karma from his back view. All Daos were within retribution. Those who had done wrong in the past would receive heart-wrenching retribution. After killing for so many years, Yi Qinghan was very tired. He had once killed the wrong person. That was why he was so exhausted and miserable in his previous life. Even if he killed all the forbidden lands, conquered the mechanical civilization, unified the endless plains, and became the supreme king, he still couldn't protect the people he wanted to protect. Yi Qinghan walked further and further away, his heart becoming more and more desolate. What was at the end of the universe? Was there eternal life? What was the meaning of eternal life? Yi Qinghan's doubts caused his Tao heart to rumble. He almost went crazy. No matter how strong an existence was, they couldn't defy the heavens. If they didn't prove their Tao, no one could say for sure that they could prove their Tao. Xian Yan was an example. Yi Qinghan was also an example. The ancient stoneman looked at Yi Qinghan's back view and restrained his killing intent. He respectfully watched him leave. After a long time, he quietly left. Killing until proving my Tao. What have I done all these years? Yi Qinghan asked as he climbed step by step. His clothes fluttered in the wind as he looked up at the sky. Protect? I can't protect what I want to protect, but how many people do I want to protect? That's why she died. She was killed by someone. Yi Qinghan arrived at the waist of the mountain. A waterfall flew between the mountains, splashing water everywhere. The green mountains and green leaves were filled with traces of reincarnation. The profound meaning of reincarnation became denser and denser, constantly attacking Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. Boom! The parrot and the snake were forcefully pushed out of their bodies and fell to the bottom of the mountain. The 10-colored light on the mountaintop expanded unceasingly. It was filled with reincarnation Upanishad. It expanded downward and pulled Yi Qinghan into the reincarnation fantasy. An endless whirlpool appeared in Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness, surrounded by seas of consciousness. The eerie head bared its fangs and bit at Yi Qinghan's soul with all its might. The passageway was endless, leading to the 9 underworlds and the endless hell. Woo woo woo. The eerie cold wind of hell carried with it the sound of death reaping. The sharp screams of the dead spirits pierced through the soul, setting off a torrential sea of bitterness. The aura of death filled the sky as it rushed towards the 9 heavens. Yi Qinghan used his consciousness to see everything. He wanted to break free from the shackles of hell and break free from the cycle of reincarnation. However, only when he reached the top and looked up did he realize how insignificant he was. Only when he entered the cycle of reincarnation did he realize how laughable the legend of immortality was. The great path of reincarnation was indestructible. No matter how strong the soul was, it could not break free from its shackles. Boom! Yi Qinghan continued to advance upwards, leaving behind a footprint with each step. His black hair danced in the wind, and his eyes were devoid of light. There was only the great path of reincarnation. It was as if he wanted to devour everything and bring the vast expanse of mountains and rivers into the cycle of reincarnation. Everyone was shocked. This was only Yi Qinghan's subconscious reaction, but when they looked at his back, they felt as if they had entered the cycle of reincarnation. A formless whirlpool formed behind him, swallowing everything. Mountains and rocks disappeared without a trace. No one knew if this great path of reincarnation would be drawn into the depths of hell once it was activated by its own consciousness. The parrot's feathers stood on end. It swallowed a mouthful of saliva and poked the brightly colored snake with its little claws. It cried out, "Quickly wake him up. There's a spiritual treasure of reincarnation on this mountain peak that has brought him into a state of enlightenment. If his soul can't walk out of the illusion now, he'll be a walking corpse. He'll spend the rest of his life in hell until he dies." The brightly colored snake slithered and rapidly approached the mountain. It rushed halfway up the mountain, but just as it came into contact with Yi Qinghan's back, a formless barrier was emitted around him. It ruthlessly knocked the brightly colored snake hundreds of miles away and almost killed it on the spot. The current Yi Qinghan couldn't get close at all. Anyone who did would suffer a terrifying attack from him, just like Xian Yain. No, it was even worse than him. At least Xian Yain still had a part of his consciousness. At this moment, all of Yi Qinghan's consciousness had been dragged into the reincarnation illusion. On the mountain peak, golden light erupted and shot out in all directions. A golden fruit was hanging there and gradually approaching maturity. The fruit was filled with circles of reincarnation imprints, causing one to fall into the cycle of reincarnation with a single glance. The weak might die on the spot. This kind of reincarnation fruit was a natural spiritual treasure. Once it matured, it could cause one to fall into an eternal cycle of reincarnation with a single thought. It could also allow one to instantly comprehend the great Tao of reincarnation and ascend to the summit of the heavens. They would become a god and control all living beings. Before it matured, the reincarnation fruit was like an extremely difficult fruit. It was extremely insipid and even birds weren't willing to eat it. Only birds with spirituality like the spirit-devouring divine eagle could discover the reincarnation fruit. The stone man had guarded it for countless years. If it weren't for the experts approaching the mountain, it might have remained in a deep slumber like a withered mountain. No one would have discovered it. Today, the reincarnation fruit had matured and stirred up a worldly phenomenon. Heavenly dragons soared into the sky and divine phoenixes cried out in grief. They circled around the mountain peak and were only inches away from Yi Qinghan. Boom, boom, boom. The world was filled with a solemn and stirring melody. Yi Qinghan gazed at the reincarnation fruit and was completely dragged into hell. Hell was boundless and filled with tens of millions of ghostly soldiers. Corpses and bones were piled up like mountains. Tens of thousands of spirits were wailing in grief. Iron chains extended from the ground and locked down one life form after another. The deeper one went, the stronger their souls became. Mournful screams and curses rang out incessantly. Some were complaining while others were begging. Yi Qinghan raised his eyes and looked into the depths. Waves of blood surged into the sky and not even a ray of light could shine in. Apart from the color of blood, there was only darkness. Countless iron chains circled above and spun continuously, controlling the dead spirits of hell. As long as one fell into hell, no one could escape, not even the great emperor. Is this hell? Could it be that their souls are all here? Yi Qinghan's battle robes fluttered and his battle intent soared. With a wave of his hand, violent rebirth appeared in his hand. He walked into the depths of hell with an indomitable spirit. He wanted to kill his way out of hell and take away the people he wanted to protect. But the deeper Yi Qinghan went, the denser the aura of death on the mountain became. Even the five elements Tao body couldn't stop his vitality from dispersing. Screech! The god-slaying eagle rushed over from afar and felt Yi Qinghan's aura of death. It let out a mournful cry and roared toward the sky. It's over. This guy is too daring. He wants to kill in hell. The parrot was shocked and flustered. The multicolored snake trembled. If Yi Qinghan's vitality was dispersing, its and the parrot's vitality would also be dispersing. Shenong Qingyan rushed over and saw Yi Qinghan standing proudly like a god with violent rebirth in his hand. His 5 elements Tao body interweaved with lightning and covered the entire mountain with the aura of death. She couldn't help but be shocked. Countless heroes knew that Yi Qinghan had appeared in the Tao heart world. Some experts wanted to challenge Yi Qinghan and rushed over from the depths. Some people knew that Yi Qinghan had a fortuitous encounter and wanted to see how strong the legendary Endless Emperor was. More and more people gathered around the mountain. Even Zai Kan had come. The moment he appeared, the dragon-shaped broken sword in his hand cut through the long river and the stars moved. He turned into a broken golden dragon and coiled towards Yi Qinghan. Courting death. How dare you! The heroes of Insane Sect were furious, but Zai Kan's speed was too fast. The golden dragon entered the lightning and pierced through the clouds, attacking Yi Qinghan's back. Boom! Ah! Yi Qinghan abruptly turned around and swept his saber horizontally, crashing into Zai Kan's broken sword. Chi waves surged into the sky and sent Zai Kan flying for thousands of miles. Zai Kan's powerful battle body was shattered, and blood dyed the sky red. Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan's face when he turned around. They were stunned by the lightning and reincarnation in his eyes. Those were not human eyes. PFFF. Everyone spat out a mouthful of essence blood and quickly turned around to avoid Yi Qinghan's eyes. Their Tao hearts trembled and even the super-class experts almost went berserk. What is this bastard trying to do? Did he go berserk? Shenong Qingyan was aghast. That gaze was too terrifying. She had never seen such a terrifying gaze in her life. Yi Qinghan swept his gaze across the heroes and then looked at the reincarnation fruits again. His back was facing the world and no one dared to make a sneak attack. What should we do? Quickly think of a way. He will fall into hell. Jian Qinxue said in horror. There is no way. With his own will, no external objects can shake the reincarnation of hell. We cannot awaken him. Shenong Qingyan said in a low voice. As an existence of the desolate era, she had seen too many things. There were also thearchs who entered the 9 underworlds, but no one came back alive. They were all dead. Parrot, stop struggling. Quickly undo the contract, or you will all die here. Shenong Qingyan reminded. There is no time. I also need time to undo the contract, but this bastard, boom. The multicolored snake and parrot fell to the ground at the same time and fell into a deep sleep. Yi Qinghan's death aura was too dense, and his soul was also in hell. As long as Yi Qinghan did not come out, he was a dead man. Therefore, the multicolored snake and parrot could only wait. If Yi Qinghan did not wake up, they would die with him. Boom! The reincarnation mirror was also unconsciously summoned by Yi Qinghan. This meant that he had opened up a battlefield in hell. If he lost, he would lose forever. Emperor Yi closed his eyes and gently strummed the human emperor's zither. The gentle sound of the zither was transmitted from the void to Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. Perhaps it was because he was familiar with this sound and trusted it too much, but Yi Qinghan's physical body did not resist and allowed the heaven-like rhythm to drift into the depths of his sea of consciousness. It followed the reincarnation imprint and directly entered hell. This wisp of heaven-like sound accompanied by Emperor Ye's divine sense. She actually entered hell through Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness and saw everything in hell. She saw Yi Qinghan manifesting his battle physique and killing in the 9 underworlds. The sea of blood surged and was about to drown the universe. Zither transformation. Ing. Emperor Yi moved. A divine zither stood at the peak of the sky. The might of a deity emperor was vast and mighty. She poured all of her divine sense into the zither and blasted it into Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. Then, she entered hell and manifested her golden body. She stood on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and held the human emperor's zither in her hand. Her clothes fluttered behind her as her white hair wrapped around the silent hell. "Teacher. I'm here to help you." A crisp voice rang in hell, triggering the ferocious nature of hell. The Yi Qinghan in the outside world did not have a soul, but the real Yi Qinghan in hell had feelings and emotions. He frowned and looked at Emperor Yi. He did not expect her to follow him into hell. The heroes in the outside world were shocked. Shenong Qinyan looked at Emperor Ye's empty body and knew that her soul had entered hell as well. She could not help but scold, "Crazy. Even if you're not afraid of death, don't do this. Clean up the battlefield. Anyone who comes close to the battlefield will be killed without mercy." Xia Ziluo's purple light celestial spirit body erupted as she stood in front of Emperor Ye's body. Her cold gaze swept across the heroes as her hair danced in the wind. Her emperor's might was so dense that she looked like a real deity. Chapter 448. In the Tao Heart world, the insane sect had cleared the battlefield. There was no room for negotiation. Previously on the Milky Way path, even if the experts were against the insane sect, they would still tolerate it. But now, they had to retreat or they would die. The heavenly martial battle sword erupted with killing intent. It was cold and emotionless, pointing at the experts from afar. Whoever did not retreat would die. Di Longtian transformed into a 10,000 zhang long heavenly dragon that coiled on one side of the mountain, protecting Emperor Yi. The dragon's eyes looked down at everyone with a terrifying aura. Si Wuxia clenched his fist and his golden battle blood surged, causing the experts to stagnate and retreat. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Yi Linchen, Heaven's equal Monkey King, Nye Tian, and Yen Yunbei all made their moves. Although they were not from the insane sect, they would not let the insane sect fight alone. Zai Qin coughed out blood and said coldly, "Yi Qinghan is still alive. You will never be able to prove your Tao. If my heart is determined to prove my Tao, no one can stop me. Yi Qinghan can't either. Therefore, whether he is alive or dead has nothing to do with me. But don't you dare take advantage of me." Heaven's equal Monkey King transformed into a 10,000 zhang long battle body and smashed the ground with his staff. He glared at the experts and said coldly, "Don't forget that you are qualified to stand here alive and fight for the throne because Yi Qinghan fought for it. If you don't have the heart to prove your Tao, then get out of the Tao Heart world. Don't use others as an excuse." The experts were silent. Many of them did not participate in the battle, but they had heard of Yi Qinghan's legend. Killing Yi Qinghan at this time was indeed shameful. Even if they proved their Tao, there would be a barrier in their heart that they could never cross. "Everyone, retreat. No one is allowed to come within 1,000 li. If you don't leave, don't blame me for killing you." Di Shang said coldly. "I, Yi Shuihan, still know how to be grateful. My hometown was also attacked by the dead spirits. Without the heroic sacrifice of that battle, my clan would have been completely destroyed, and I wouldn't have survived. I want to fight Yi Qinghan, but that's on the basis of fairness. All of you, back off." Yi Shuihan's sword aura froze 10,000 li and pressed towards the heroes. "Retreat." Leaf Dao Denier took the initiative to retreat, and many others followed suit. Yi Feng was originally standing 1,000 miles away. At this moment, he turned around and left, heading towards the depths of the Tao Heart world. Many people took this opportunity to leave, speeding towards the depths. There were also many who were unwilling, still waiting here for an opportunity. Quang Can's eyes narrowed into a line, emitting killing intent. "Retreat. If you can't face Yi Qinghan head-on and kill him, then your cultivation will come to an end. The Tao is about the heart, not the enemy. Do you understand?" A deep voice sounded in Zai Can's mind, causing him to tremble. Then, he muttered, yes, senior brother. I understand. Kanyang's figure flashed across the sky without alerting anyone. Hell, the 9 underworlds blood sea. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi seemed to have merged into one. The tragic melody stirred Yi Qinghan's battle intent. The master and disciple worked together again, wanting to carve a path out of hell. Back then, the zither immortal crimson demon physique was comparable to a great emperor. Emperor Yi did not make a move after becoming a great emperor. Now that she made a move again, no one knew how strong she was. As for Yi Qinghan, who dared to say that he didn't have the battle prowess of a great emperor? The 2 great emperors slaughtered their way into the imperial domain. Their souls merged together, and their teamwork was not limited to just 2 great emperors. Boom! Yi Qinghan's blade slashed towards the depths of hell. Sparks flew in all directions, but it was as if the blade had struck a sponge, weak and powerless. Roar! Countless evil spirits gathered to form a terrifying creature, charging out from the depths of the blood sea. An ordinary person would have been scared to death long ago. Buzz, 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 Emperor Ye's 10 fingers danced wildly. Half of the zither's melody was violent and tragic, while the other half was gentle and calm. While supporting Yi Qinghan's battle prowess, he attacked the evil spirit. The evil spirit of the evil spirit was partially suppressed, and its battle prowess was restricted. Swish, 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 the melody turned into blades that tore through the void, stirring up waves of blood that blasted toward the evil spirit. Roar! The evil spirit Ba Shan waded through the blood sea. It punched through some of the sound blades, allowing the other sound blades to cut through its body as it charged toward Yi Qinghan's main body. Waves of air soared into the sky, and the stench of blood filled the air. It was nauseating. Yi Qinghan's aura continued to rise, and the great Tao of reincarnation flashed in his eyes. He waved his hand, and a blood screen appeared in front of him, turning into the strongest protective boundary. The blood dragon rushed out from the blood sea hell, bared its fangs, and bit at the evil spirit. Boom! The blood dragon collided with the evil spirit and was torn apart by the evil spirit, becoming one with it. Any power in the blood sea was controlled by the evil spirit. Yi Qinghan's will could not fight for control. Whoosh! The blood screen was also pierced through by the evil spirit, and waves of air swept toward Yi Qinghan. Their long hair fluttered behind them, and the blood swords turned into the sharpest attacks. They were indestructible as they surrounded the 2 of them. Swoosh! Swoosh! The blood light was terrifying. Fight! Yi Qinghan waved his hand wildly, and with a furious roar, the blood sea collapsed. The tyrannical power of the battle symbol art shattered most of the blood swords, but there were still some that attacked Emperor Yi. The tip of her foot tapped on her right shoulder, but it was as if she was stuck to Yi Qinghan's body. No matter how she moved her body, the tip of her foot would not leave Yi Qinghan's shoulder. Swoosh! A sword ray pierced through Emperor Ye's waist, and Emperor Ye's body was now parallel to Yi Qinghan's shoulder. His control was so precise that it was shocking. Buzz! 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 His 10 fingers pulled back the Emperor's zither, and with a sudden flick, a huge blade swept out, wanting to cut through hell and the evil spirit. Saint! Yi Qinghan's attack followed closely, and with a slash of the blade, it cut through the great Tao and went straight for the evil spirit's throat. The evil spirit was formed by countless bones, and these bones were the bones of powerful creatures. They were as tough as monarch weapons and could not be penetrated at all. Therefore, it did not care about the 2 attacks at all, and reached out to grab Emperor Ye's attack. Boom! The huge blade slammed into the eerie bones. The evil spirit had underestimated Emperor Yi, and also underestimated the Emperor's zither. The sound blade that she and the Emperor's zither produced together was enough to kill a great emperor. Not to mention the bones that had been dead for who knew how many years. Hua! The bones collapsed, and the arms were broken. The evil spirit cried out in pain and fell backward, but Yi Qinghan's attack followed closely, and with a slash of his blade, he stabbed into the evil spirit's throat. The 5 elements sealed off its vitality, and the great Tao of destruction descended. Lightning was born from the void, and directly blasted into the evil spirit's body, crushing it into nothingness. In the outside world, the experts were suffocated by the hellish aura. Some with unstable Tao hearts coughed out blood and flew backward, not daring to get too close to the mountain. Around the mountain, there were only Kuang Zong's group, some close friends, and some who stayed to protect Yi Qinghan out of gratitude for Yi Qinghan's actions back then. Shenong Qinyan frowned. She knew nothing about hell's reincarnation. Those who entered hell did not return, and no one knew about it, except for those eerie creatures that specialized in the great Tao of reincarnation, such as the Ghost Emperor. Ghost Emperor, tell me, do they still have a chance to come out? How much do you know about hell's reincarnation? Shenong Qinyan asked solemnly. The Ghost Emperor was shocked. He did not expect Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan to be so crazy that they could kill each other in hell. They must not turn back when fighting on the reincarnation path. Once they feel tired and want to retreat, they will die without a doubt. They can only kill their way to the depths of hell and reach the last level to return to the human realm. This is called reincarnation. There are 18 levels of hell, and each level is more terrifying than the previous one. Even a true great emperor might not be able to reach the last level. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi are not ordinary people. They have both reached the boundary emperor realm, and their combat strength is not inferior to a great emperor's. The two of them are working together, and they are master and disciple. They are good at working together, and their combat strength should be higher than a peak great emperor. There is still a chance. The Ghost Emperor forgot about his hatred at this moment. He hoped that Yi Qinghan could kill his way out of reincarnation and carve out an unprecedented great Tao. I believe that Brother Yi can kill his way out. If he is alone in hell, he might give up when he is tired. However, my son is also in hell to fight with him. Even if he doesn't want to come out, he has to send my son out. I believe in his determination. Jian Qinshue gritted his teeth and said. Everyone looked at the mountain peak with anticipation. Yi Qinghan was still standing proudly. The 5 elemental elements wrapped around his golden body and tore the black dragon with the deathly aura. He wanted to forcefully suppress the deathly aura and fight for the physical body's vitality. Woo-woo, the wind howled as the reincarnation fruit shone brightly. The tearing force became stronger and stronger, and it wanted to suck the sky into reincarnation. The heroes carried Emperor Ye's physical body and started to retreat. They did not dare to be tainted by the karma of reincarnation. Within 1,000 miles of the mountain, only Yi Qinghan's clothes were fluttering. His heavy saber radiance split the sky. His aura was so strong that it was hard for people to look at his back. In the Tao Heart world, the heroes started to fight in the depths. They were fighting for the rare treasures. If they were not careful, they would turn into Tao. The strong started to fight while the weak waited for an opportunity. As long as they could get their hands on a rare treasure, they would be able to soar into the sky. In the depths, another divine medicine appeared. It flew into the sky and burrowed into the ground, trying to escape from the fight. However, the divine radiance shone brightly as the strong cultivators worked together to seal the space. They started to fight in the space, fighting for the divine medicine. The heavens and earth were torn apart as the heroes fell one after another. Kanyang made his move. He destroyed a powerful super-class expert with a single palm strike. His battle prowess was terrifying. However, the mutated creature that killed Ming Ke also made his move. He was as fast as lightning as he tore through the void. He was invincible and killed everyone in his way. Chitian Monkey King endured for a while. Seeing that there was no one around who could threaten Guangzong, he left in advance. He held a powerful golden rod and charged into the battle, wanting to fight for the divine medicine. In hell, Yi Qinghan led Emperor Yi into the Blood Sea and charged into the depths without hesitation. My son, conserve your strength. According to the legends, there should be 18 levels in hell. This is the first level. Let's fight our way to the end and see what's below the 18th level. Yi Qinghan said hoarsely. Emperor Yi nodded. Since she dared to borrow Yi Qinghan's consciousness to enter hell, she was prepared to fight to the death with Yi Qinghan in hell. For Yi Qinghan, she dared to do anything. She was not even afraid of death, let alone a great battle. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Yi Qinghan advanced through the Blood Sea. A few Yin soldiers charged toward the two of them. Their battle prowess was not inferior to that of a boundary emperor. However, against Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, they could not even withstand a single blow. They were all shattered by Yi Qinghan's punch. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.